Welcome back, everyone, to another episode. I'm especially excited because we have a special guest today. So, before we go ahead and begin, how's everyone doing today?
Doing good.
Good, good. All right, so we'll just go ahead and introduce our guest. So, let's just go ahead and introduce you and let everyone know what is it that you do in the gaming community.
Oh, like right now? Okay, yeah, okay. So first off, I just want to say thank you real quick for saying that I'm special because up until I was a kid and had a propeller hat, I didn't know that I was anything more than special. Second of all, gaming community. So I am a retro collector of many. Let me start over. First off, my name is Kazdan. Kazdan is on, and I am a retro collector of many kinds. I collect Android games, cartridge-based games, CDs, consoles, pretty much the whole nine yards. But if you guys also notice, probably in the background, I have a couple helmets on display. I also am a collector of like little oddities like action figures and Power Ranger and Tokusatsu merchandise, T-shirt, for example. Um, I've been in the gaming community pretty much my entire life, but I've only been trying to put myself out there in the community publicly through YouTube and Facebook and Instagram for about a couple years now. I really threw myself headlong into it about a year and a half ago. No, almost 2 years ago, actually, at the launch of the Atari VCS, which we'll talk more about that later, I presume.
Yes.
Awesome.
So, there we have it. Just a quick little intro. So we'll just go ahead and kind of dive deep into this a little bit more. First of all, thank you everyone who's in the chat so far. Looks like we have Carl in here, saying howdy, and it looks like everything is up to speed now with the settings and everything. So we know that you do, like these videos, these like short films, these series. Can you expand a little bit on that? Like, where can people find you specifically? And, what types of all of this do you actually do?
Yeah, so I pretty much have my hands involved in a lot of things. And this might take a little bit of talking to kind of get to the main point here, but ultimately, I am a full-time college student for theater, arts, and film. And I recently just completed 2 associates in theater and arts and this second associates in fine arts. Excuse me. And I'm actually getting ready to transfer into film studies. And mainly, my goal with all of this is that I want to, at the end of the day, produce movies. If I can't produce movies, I want to try to attribute that towards YouTube. Some of my YouTube videos, and this sounds so cliche to say, has some mild inspiration from AVGN because I appreciate the satire, but yet the seriousness of the stuff that he does. But as far as the short films and stuff, I'm working on several projects. I'm producing my first independent survival horror series called Agent Dax, which actually started as a college assignment that got a lot of positive reception. So we expanded upon that idea for the acting for the camera course that I took. And we are also producing a Beetleborg fan film, which is the first of its kind, and a Power Ranger fan film that was inspired by Jason David Frank, who has unfortunately passed away as of November. Which I just released a documentary about that through Fateful Comic Con, and it wouldn't make sense for me not to explain Fateful Comic Con because I work with them as a photographer, and I dabbled for the first time as a videographer for them over the last weekend. Um, and basically, I really want to put my career and my education towards those kind of things because I really love being behind the camera. As far as my YouTube videos go, and I'll make this very short so we can kind of get moving on. But as far as my YouTube videos go, I do some skits that are like Atari related, Atari Jaguar related, but I haven't really expanded upon the few of them that I've done. Like I did one for Kings of Edom, which was a homebrew game that was released, and basically this game is designed to pretty much get harder as you advance in the game, so it's designed to dominate you. And so, as the skit is that the game cartridge is represented by a dominatrix. And so, if you guys want to check that out, you can just find Kings of Edom by Kraz Productions, and you'll find the video. And also, shout out to Phobos and Songbird Productions because that's where you guys can get that from if you want to ever purchase a copy. Anyway, continue.
No, I mean, you brought up some great things, so we'll kind of, go a little bit off of, some of the questions that we had there. So
Okay.
what actually got you into like this whole photography and like videography? Did you
Ooh.
always have a passion around that, or was that
Okay.
something
So
newer?
so do you want the direct answer or do you want the controversial answer? There's
Well,
don't
two
know.
answers to this.
Whatever
I
fits
guess,
more, I suppose.
yeah,
Okay. So
whichever.
here, I'll find a way to politely combine the two. So ever since I was a teenager, I was always fascinated with low budget films.
Hmm.
Asylum films, some of the earlier Screen Gems media films, for example. I used to watch Wild Eye and Film Rise before Film Rise was a big thing, Sci-Fi Channel, things like that.
Hmm.
And as a kid, I used to analyze like the low budget effects and like, oh, how how they made something that looks obviously fake on camera, but yet still looks very practical at the same time. And I would analyze those things. And I really wanted to get into film, but I was a product of a very poor household income. And I didn't have a lot of knowledge about how financial aid works, let alone a film related college in my area. And I didn't qualify for any scholarships. So I ended up going to a community college, excuse me. And before doing that, I got my hands on my first camera and decided that I would base my entire college education around cameras.
Okay.
I got into photography ultimately because uh, this is gonna sound so bad. So I got into photography because somebody told me I couldn't, and I wanted to prove them that I could. Um, it was just a really bad experience that ultimately resulted in something positive. So I guess thank you to them for that. I've done some really amazing photo shoots with some really amazing models and some really kind and fantastic people.
Hmm.
And through the conventions and stuff that I partake in, I've also met very like minded individuals who have taught me things along the way. And as a result, I can proudly say that I am a photographer, soon to be cinematographer, and I don't ever see me not holding a camera in my hand throughout the rest of my life.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think anything's wrong with that because
No,
it sounds like you have a passion for it. And if you're like working towards something and, you're always, anything that we do, we're always like learning more, we're always trying to grow. So, I mean, I feel like that's, a great answer. Whether someone was, being critical and you were just trying to prove them wrong, I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong with that because
definitely not.
that's kind of how like life works in a lot of ways. Sometimes you need like a little push start of something and it all worked out. Everything happens for a reason and it sounds like you're in exactly the right place that you wanted to be and we can all, admire that. We all want to move forward and see where we all end up and we want to prove those people wrong because this is what we like doing and there's always going to be those people. So, it looks like so far in the chat, Millennial Collector Ohio is even saying Beetleborgs, you say? And then we
Oh yeah.
have, yes.
And in fact, I'm still getting the chromium purple. I mean the platinum purple being made, and I have two
Oh,
chromium gold helmets as well. We're working on the armor as well for that right now. And although I don't have it on me, we're trying to incorporate the Hillhurst that as well. Which, for those who are unfamiliar, they're basically like horror movie monster characters that were used comically throughout the franchise in the '90s. And yeah, we want to try to honor that as well because that kind of carried the franchise. But anyway, sorry. I'll talk. I'll
no, you're
talk for
fine.
hours. I promise.
Yo, you're
No,
fine.
it seems like they like that. And then we also have Carl saying, "Oh gosh, have watched quite a number of the Asylum films too.
Oh yes.
Transmorphers, Terminator, Sharknado, and
Oh
Atlantic
my God. Okay,
Rim
hold
as
on.
well."
I have to say this. I have to say this. I don't care what anyone says to me. Transmorphers, the original beat like bootleg for Transformers. Transmorphers was honestly a genuinely good film. They had like a budget of 30K and they made a movie that made sense, had awesome locations, took advantage of a rain machine, good lighting, some decent actors, and although the special effects were terrible, it all made sense and I enjoyed it through and through. But the sequel to that, Fall of Man, was just absolute garbage. Like you could tell they didn't try. They had like a budget of a quarter and two pickles and just said, "Here, do something with it."
We even have Catching Daisies in the chat saying, does he like Coleco, and are you a Game Junction community person?
Am I a game what person?
We have our, like, Game Junction lounge.
I think he's
they
talking
would-
about
Oh,
like
yeah.
the lounge and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, part of
Yes,
like, the
I'm both.
community person.
Yeah, I am a member on there. So again, my name is Kazdan, and I'm pretty sure if you go through like the active members, you'll see me in there. I'm actually holding the Beetleborg helmet, so I'm one of a kind. But yeah, I am an active member, and I don't want to say that I'm necessarily a Coleco fan, but I will say this. So I recently started looking more into Coleco, and I've discovered that I actually really want to try to play some Coleco games.
Okay.
So I didn't grow up with Atari. I didn't grow up with Intellivision or Coleco. I was a Nintendo kid in the 90s, and I got my hands on my first PlayStation. And it wasn't until I turned, I think, 14 or 15 years old, I got my hands on my first Sega Genesis. And I discovered that, and you guys can fight me on this, Sega is superior to Nintendo in every way possible. Okay? I will die on that hill, and you can't take that away from me. So, but in the recent years, I have become a huge Atari fan. Started delving into 2600, the new Atari VCS. I actually own almost the entire Atari Jaguar library. I own the Mach 2 Atari Lynx. I was actually just talking to somebody about that earlier this afternoon. Shout out to XYZ if he's watching. If not, it's always cool. Deuces. But and also I have also found a love for Android gaming, and yes, I have Ouya's. I actually own 7 of these.
Wow.
So underappreciated for many reasons, but also complete laughing stock. So I get it. I get the mixed bag.
Yeah, no, I mean I'm an Ouya fan myself. We've talked about that before. I've got to get mine set up. I had it when it was new. Was pretty disappointed with the controller. I think I like it a lot more now. It's very, very unique.
Oh yeah,
it's very unique. I can remember
so
their selling thing was, we've got the best controller ever made. We put all this money into this controller, and I like it now. I'm a fan.
Here's a fun fact. So the controller design. Did you know that Nintendo bought it? Like, you can get controllers like this for the Switch, and most people don't ever tie it into this. But one of the cool things about the... Go ahead. I'm so sorry.
I've seen and read an article about that. They had bought the mold or whatever you would call it for the controller.
Yep. And I will say that if you are collecting for Ouya, which is not a very common thing for many people, you're going to want to go with the anthracite black controllers because they have an additional antenna inside of it that helps for better Bluetooth. So the launch controllers were actually quite terrible. The bronze controllers are somewhat mid compared, like somewhere in the middle mark between, but they still kind of operate the same as the silver. But I have zero problems with my anthracite black controller. And if I can ever get my hands on a white one, that's like the holy grail. They're so rare.
Yeah, I would love to find one. I've got at some point, I know we've talked about it before, I might have to talk later on about it, but I would love to get an Ouya set up, like, here to actually use and probably do some streaming with it or something. I would love to have one set up to use at all times.
Can I mention something else real quick? Do we have time?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's fine. We have plenty of time.
So, does anybody here, either in the chat or in the in the live stream, remember GameStick?
Yes. Yeah, I've got one sealed. I don't have one to use.
So, for those who are unfamiliar with what this is, GameStick was, I think they raised $600,000 on their Kickstarter campaign, and basically was the same thing as Ouya. In fact, this is actually what I have up on my television screen.
It's sort of like Game Pass, right? It was like an early Game Pass. They kind of offered the streaming of like new games coming in and out, like a service.
So actually, there was something by the same company that made this. So the company that made the GameStick was PlayJam, and they had a similar thing called the Flare TV, or the PlayJam, or the Flare Play TV. Excuse me. And I happen to have a GameStick with some games on it, and some cached images, so you can kind of see like the preserved storefront. And so PlayJam, basically, they kept this alive until 2018, but they discontinued Flare Play 8 months after it was launched because it was such a colossal failure. I think they had just barely 1,000 subscriptions to it, just barely, which
Oh
was
wow.
well underneath. And I don't quote me on this, but I do believe in order for a console to stay somewhat relevant within a market, they need a base minimum of 15,000, I think, and that has to be like sales per year.
Yeah, that's like on the low end, I would think even.
Yeah, like this thing launched and was slated for discontinue. Like not this, but the Flare Play TV was launched and slated for discontinuation within the first month. And what
Wow.
makes it worse is that the parents who this console was marketed to, they were required to pay, I think it was like $20 a month or $20 a year for a 9-month premium. It never made it past 8 months, so that means that these people who paid for these subscriptions never made it to the full 9 months.
Uh,
That's quite sad, really.
yeah. Yeah, it is. Yeah, GameStick was it was, kind of like the Ouya. It was sort of ahead of its time. Ouya is really just a Android box sort of. But I
Right.
thought it was a great concept, and I mean, having like, oh god, what was the big exclusive on there that I originally bought it specifically for one game that I believe we have ported now.
The
Oh god, what was it?
the Ouya or the Game Stick?
The Ouya. Yeah, there was one.
Was it Shadowgun?
No, it wasn't Shadowgun. There was something else on there. Oh god, I can't remember what it is. But when I bought it, I was a fan of what they were trying to do, and man, they hyped that controller up like it was a big deal. They were
They did.
really, really hyping. I feel like they put more money and time into hyping that controller than they did the system.
I think that personally, if they didn't, I was her name Julie, the CEO? Was it Julie?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I can remember watching her videos where they were doing like the diary style stuff with it.
Yeah, I think that if they had somebody else besides her as the face of the company, it could have been better. Because when she did that one interview, I forget what interview, I forget what she was being interviewed on. She was sitting on this stage, guy in a blue suit. I forget the channel, but basically she had said in that interview that there was nothing special about the box, and
Yeah,
I knew. I knew as soon as I saw that was immediately what killed it.
yeah. Oh
You
yeah,
know,
100%.
if the CEO of the company or the product doesn't have faith in it to be something greater than everything else, then that speaks immense volumes for a product and the life cycle that it's going to produce.
I mean, it was even
Um,
weaker than some phones at the time of launch. So, like, as an Android
yeah,
box for your TV, yeah, I get the concept when it came out. But I mean, there were phones more powerful than this Android box
there
here.
was
You know.
there was something put out by Mad Catz, the Mojo actually,
Oh, I remember
the
that.
Mad
Yeah.
Catz Mojo. It had a Tegra 4 chip, and it supported Google Play, Amazon App Store, NVIDIA's Tegra Zone, and it also supported Ouya Anywhere, so you could play all these platforms on it. And as an Android TV box, was actually a fantastic piece of hardware for the time. I think that if they would have tanked a little bit of money, not into the controllers, but to like extra hardware,
Yeah.
because it was designed to be modified. If they did a little bit of an upgrade on the hardware, or maybe I don't know, a dedicated USB extension port, that supported like an additional processor or something like that.
Sure.
Like, could have been great.
A RAM
It could
upgrade,
have done
something.
something.
Yeah. Yeah, I
But
agree.
anyways,
For sure. Big
Yeah, I did
Ouya
not
fan.
know anything about that.
She's just sitting over there like, oh, I'm learning things today.
I'm gonna have to do like a deep dive. Like as soon as this all ends, I have to know. So I'm gonna do like a whole deep dive on
Well,
this.
keep in mind, there's no physical stuff for the Ouya, so it's a
Yeah,
digital
so
yeah, not
console.
anymore.
Yeah, she's
Well,
she's already like.
nah, we'll pass. We'll pass on that one.
I think it's. I think that we've talked about the museum stuff a lot, but I think that's like going to be a pretty significant thing down the line that people look back at like, oh man, this was really ambitious, but it
Hmm.
just was
right.
not executed right. Like it could have
There
been
were
it could have been more.
there, there were some really great games on it, to be honest with you. For being an Android console, there were some pretty good games on there. Some that I still haven't seen anywhere else, like the White Rooms or Martyr, for example. Well, Martyr wasn't a great game. It was one guy, a one-man company kind of deal. It was his first game, and it was okay for somebody who didn't know what they were doing, but it's not like going to sell a console. But there were some really great games on it nonetheless, and I definitely feel like um, actually, I tell you what, I'll text you a list of some of the ones that I would recommend if you ever
Sure.
want to go through the archives and test out their demos. But because the demos are all online for free. Because actually, I think the Wayback Machine is gonna get. I don't want to say it's gonna get shut down, but there may need to be like another alternative because they have that lawsuit going on, don't they?
Yeah, I think so. We've got a bunch. It looks like a bunch of comments. Trying
Yeah, we left
to sort of
with
keep up, but
escalated friend.
I'll answer any questions
you got it pulled
unless
up,
it
Brittany.
involves
It's
me.
like not.
Yeah, it's
Give me the full
escalated
chat
friend said
box.
hello all. Laughed at the whole pickles comment about the budget, and then do you collect toys? They asked.
I do. So I'm a big fan of Bad Dragon. Okay, that's a joke. Please don't take that seriously. I hope nobody understood that. Anyways, I do collect toys, but not in the way that most toy collectors would think. So I I don't have too many of these floating about. I got rid of a lot of my action figures when I moved. I downsized a lot of my life. So I'm actually a full-time RV liver, and the only thing that I would ever refuse to get rid of if I move is my consoles. So I do have like a wide variety of comic books that are behind me, kind of boxed up over here, and I have some VR Trooper stuff and a couple of Power Ranger figures and some novelty items and all those things. But I specifically cleaned my desk up for this because this was riddled with like really odd oddities. Like here, hold this drawer? Yes. Okay. So, like for example, I am a huge fan of like Tiger Electronics and micro
Yep.
games and stuff like
Me
that.
too.
Uh,
Huge plug for our video we just did. we
Yeah,
just
so
did
if
a
you guys
tiger.
want to know more about that, please.
Yeah, we just posted that video a few days ago. So.
wait, I'm so sorry. I think I missed half of that statement. Say that again.
Oh, we just actually did a Tiger LCD video, just a few days ago.
Oh,
So, yeah, definitely check that out. Shameless plug here.
dude, I could talk to you about a few of the Tiger products. I mean,
Oh, yeah, I'm a big fan.
okay, so arguably Gamecom and Tiger R Zone are absolute garbage. But
How
and hear
dare
me
you?
out.
How dare you? My Gamecom is
And
sitting
hear me
right
out.
here that I play loaded
There
up with
are
Mortal Kombat.
Yeah, I need
there are better
Monopoly.
ways.
I
Yeah.
need Monopoly for the Gamecom, and I have a full set.
Oh,
So
here
if
we
anyone
go.
out there has Monopoly,
Hey,
please
I
hey,
want a full set too. I legitimately really like the Gamecom. I'm being
the only
100%
thing that I'm
serious.
missing from the Gamecom right now, besides Sonic Jam, is Wheel of Fortune 2. Those are the only two that I'm missing. And I know that I can get a copy of Sonic Jam like it's nothing. But if anybody has a copy of Wheel of Fortune 2 for $50, let me know. I'll buy it from you. I'm not paying $240 for Wheel of Fortune when I can either watch the show, go on the browser, or just pull out a newspaper and still find it. You know,
I
like
will
just
let you guys in on. I think I've slightly hinted on it before, and I'm allowed to talk about it now. But there's a project being worked on to have an
yes,
EverDrive flash cart for the Gamecom.
yes.
Yes. So,
Actually, you're talking about Alex, right?
yes. Yeah.
Yeah, I knew about it when it was announced in the Discord. It's so honestly, it's really cool what they're doing, and there's also an emulator being worked on because
Yeah.
as of right now, emulating it through like MAME and MES is difficult. You
Yeah.
know, pretty much
There
like
is one, but it's not good. They're trying to get it more accurate
there's
for.
there is the debug emulator from what was it, 95, 96? It's basically the one that they use to run the games before putting them on carts and stuff like that. And it runs it, but it lags, so I don't know what that's about. But
Yeah.
um, I do own a Gamecom. Actually, I own two. I own one for parts and one that actually works.
Same.
Yeah.
And I have to say, I do have to say that Fighters Mega Mix is not terrible.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like what Frame Raider said, where it's you press a button and it does a thing. But there actually is a strategy to it. And Duke Nukem, for Gamecom standards, let me make that clear, for Gamecom standards is pretty good. And last but not least, Resident Evil 2 on the Gamecom was such an ambitious idea.
Yeah.
They have the full game on there. You can beat it in like 45 minutes. It's all condensed down, but like, you got to give them props for that because that was incredible.
Yeah.
Not to mention the copy of Symphony of the Night that was recently leaked online. That was
I was
really
going to bring
great
that
too.
up. Yeah. Yeah, that's extremely cool. Very cool. I'd love to see more done with that. I think that homebrews have a potential for the system too, and it's been discussed a lot on Reddit and different things. But I think there's a potential for some good stuff.
Somebody did a Five Nights at Freddy's homebrew for it, didn't they?
Yes, yeah. I haven't gotten to try or do anything with it, but yeah, I've seen it talked about.
I got you. Now, and I will say this about the R-Zone. If you ever decide to collect for the R-Zone, and believe me, it is as bad as everyone says, there's a way that you can enjoy it. You have to get your hands on the handheld XPG.
Yeah, that's
because
the one
it's designed like a Game Boy, and it genuinely feels like you're playing a game at that point. It doesn't hurt your eyes. It doesn't feel terrible. You can see everything clearly. It's honestly blown up to where it's not like this really tiny screen in front of your eye.
Yeah.
Best way to enjoy it. And honestly,
how about the data zone? I need. I probably never find one, but I think that's the best one. I've gotten to play one, but I can't find one to get myself.
There was a guy who showed up in the R-Zone Facebook group, and yes, there's
I'm
two
in
of
there.
them.
Yeah.
I'm
in both. I'm in both. Yeah, I'm an R-Zone guy too. Because I had one as a kid, man. So I'm pretty nostalgic for this. What people would say is junk.
I'm not knocking it, man. I'm not knocking it at all. There are some decent, LCD games that you can enjoy. Like, honestly, I have a handheld here. It's a VR Trooper game.
Yeah.
And this handheld. Do I have it in here?
I will say with the R-Zone, if you are looking to get into it, avoid the first model. It's not great. I mean, if you're an adult,
the super screen,
it's not realistic.
The super screen is terrible. But this one, right? So this is VR Troopers When Worlds Collide.
Mm-hmm.
That's cool.
They were ambitious with this, and I'm not saying this as a Tokusatsu VR Trooper fan. You can pick between 3 characters, and you can tell just by they add like an extra sprite per character. There's 5 levels. Mm-hmm. There's multiple bosses. There's honestly a mechanic to it that makes it feel like you're genuinely fighting through like a gauntlet, and it changes up the further in you go. And I've to this day have not played another Tiger handheld that has done that much in an LCD handheld. I have 2 of these, and these are actually going on for like $110 on eBay right now.
Oh wow!
Either I don't know if it's because they're rare, or if it's because they're rare or because they're that good. But I kid you not, I picked this up. I played it for like 3 hours straight just to try to beat it, and I enjoyed those 3 hours.
Yeah. I just played through the Shinobi one when I picked it up. I just picked it up a couple weeks ago. I played all the way through it.
Have you tried the 99X Resident Evil one?
I have not. No.
I have a buddy from Discord who has one of those. I might have the name wrong, but basically you dock them together, right? And it's a Resident Evil version of it, and it's honestly, from what he's told me, sounds like it would be really cool. So if I can ever get my hands on it, I would like to. But anyway, all right. Were there any questions? I'm so sorry. I'm so happy to be on a podcast. So it's like my inner child is like, yeah,
Oh, you're good.
Yeah,
man.
that's completely fine. We just had Carl who said, I have Transmorphers on DVD. Deciphon said, missed you all. How does it do to make movies? I guess we'll have to talk a little bit more on. I
Could
guess
that person
maybe like
expand on the question?
movies. What was it?
Can that person possibly expand on that question? What do they mean?
Yeah,
We'll see if they
can.
reply. Yeah, there's a ton of comments.
They looked like there might have been like a typo in there. Lord said, my grandma Mimi got me into video games on the Atari with Star Raiders. I was probably 5 years old. And then Deciphon said, my favorite system is the Ouya. And then said, Ouya
cool.
for life. Game Junction is commenting, Ouya fans, yay. Deciphon said, do you sell modded Ouyas? And then,
do I? Yes.
Oh, okay, perfect. So we'll
Yeah,
have to see if they can
I
reach
get
it.
them linked up to the fan servers and stuff so people can still enjoy the games.
Oh,
But
okay.
for the record, you can still do that on your own fairly easy. It's no you all you do is you plug it into your computer, because also try to encourage people to learn how to do it themselves, because it's the only way you can enjoy them.
Yeah.
You literally
Right.
plug it into your computer, you turn the Ouya on, you plug your Ouya into the computer, you open up PowerShell, you type in a command, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 on the menu, and you're done.
Okay.
About that simple. Like, you're done in 15 minutes.
Sweet.
Wow.
Yeah, we'll have to see if they can, get linked up to figure that one out. And then
But for those,
oh, is it Gigi McGee or Gigi McGee?
I always say Gigi. I don't know. They pretty active users, so I'm not too sure.
Yes.
I think it's Gigi.
Said, I've seen your videos. Cool guest, guys. Proud of you. Thank you for the compliment. Love you all. Thank you. And then Carl said, thank you for the info about those systems, including the Ouya. Like Brandy, didn't really know much about them. So that's
Sure.
good. At least we're all learning.
Yeah, definitely.
Lord says, yeah, digital has pros for now, major cons later. Then we have them talking about, do you like the Intellivision? List your 5 favorite systems, please.
Okay. All right. Where can I start?
Anywhere. They want to know.
All right. So I think it's important to note that I've not had a genuine Intellivision experience. I've never had the hardware for Intellivision. As I mentioned before, I didn't have a Coleco, I didn't have an Intellivision growing up, and I didn't grow up with Atari. Atari is something that I've developed a love for over the last 5 years. As far as Intellivision goes, I've emulated it, and I've had some really good experiences through Intellivision. However, and I realize this is controversial, I won't go into too much detail. I backed the Amico originally, and I wanted a refund, never got that refund. I own, this hurts me saying this, I own 3 copies of each of the physical media games that they sold. And if they ever release it, I would definitely do a lot of content on it, because at the end of the day, I want what I paid for. I just really don't want it to be vaporware. But it seems like more than, as the days progress, it seems more and more like it is. And that's okay, because I still have a little piece of gaming history that I can pawn off on somebody else if they want it, or I can keep it for myself. And the coins are nice, the cards are nice. But as far as like OG Intellivision, I don't have a lot of experiences with that. In fact, I recently started getting into the Intellivision because of it. And let me rephrase that. I started getting into Intellivision because of the Amico. And I can't really talk much about Intellivision because my experiences are very small, but I'm open to recommendations for games and things that I should check out, because I do have every intention of testing out the entire library, and I would like to know where to start.
Sure.
I think that's fair.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so too.
And what are your 5 favorite systems?
5 favorite systems. Gotcha. I was about to say, what was the other question? Okay. So, most of my channel is heavily circulated on the Atari VCS. I have to say, as a fan of the console, it's not my number 1, but it is definitely one of my favorites. I use it every day for my college assignments. I've quoted that for the last 2 years since it came out, because literally it has helped me throughout my college. Not even gonna lie, I have the Onyx Black over here running Windows 10, and then I have another one across the room running Debian 11 on it. And they all do different things fantastically. So as a console PC hybrid, it's great.
Mm-hmm.
And there's honestly a decent amount of games and a decent library on it. And the community for it, oh my god, is one of the best communities that I've ever been a part of as far as video games. Like, PlayStation and Xbox are always divided. There's always that bad batch, but for the VCS, I've not experienced a bad situation yet. So that's pretty cool. My number one favorite console is going to have to be the Sega Dreamcast.
Okay.
Definitely going to have to be the Sega Dreamcast, and that's because, like I said, I developed a love for Sega in my teenage years, and I got my hands on these consoles well after they were already irrelevant to the market. That is. And I got exposed to Jet Set Radio and Blue Stinger and Carrier. Oh my god, Carrier was fantastic.
I love Blue Stinger.
House of the Dead. Unreal Tournament was my thing for PC, and seeing a console version of it was just absolutely amazing.
It's really
I would have loved to have played.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
I love it.
Dude, I don't know a single person that can beat me in Unreal Tournament. Like, when I say I had an obsession, there's not a single person that can beat me, I promise you.
Sounds like a challenge. I actually just... I have my keyboard and mouse for it, and I actually... I don't know, man. I'm pretty good.
I will take that challenge. I swear.
Have a tournament. You heard it here first.
Yeah, you heard it here first. You're going to be challenging me to a match on Unreal Tournament. I got you. I can do it on controller. Actually, I'm not a PC user, so the mouse and keyboard on Dreamcast for me is, it is what it is. I don't have a desktop PC myself. I have a laptop. But I played it with that. And it's great, man. I love that Dreamcast keyboard.
Dude, there's not enough positive things that I can say about the Dreamcast. I mean, honestly, the games for it, they just have such an aesthetic that for 1999, 2001 standards is just not... You can't beat it. Mm-hmm. It's crisp, it's clean, the music is amazing, the characters are beautiful, the stories and the narratives, the library, all of it. There's so many positives and so many experiences that you can get on the Dreamcast that you could get on other consoles. And the same thing could be said about the original Xbox versus like PlayStation and Nintendo. There were genuine experiences on the original Xbox, like Mace Griffin, for example, that you couldn't get anywhere else. Yeah. Or Blinks. Yeah. Blinks was amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, of course, we don't have to say anything about Halo. Everybody knows Halo, but still. And if I had to add to that list, so my top 5, because I realize I'm rambling. So definitely going to say the Atari VCS is going to be my second. My number 1 is going to be the Sega Dreamcast. Mm-hmm. So my number 3 has to be the Atari Jaguar. Okay. And I'm going to explain why in very short bursts here. The reason why for Atari Jaguar, I wanted one ever since I was a little kid. I really did. I always wanted one. And a couple years ago, I finally managed to get my hands on one. I drove all the way to South Carolina on like a 3-4 hour trip to pick it up from a guy who sold the whole thing for like $1,000. Controller, hookups, CD player, or the CD attachment. It even came with Primal Rage, which at the time was going for $400 by itself. Yeah. Like, now, today, I have the entire CD library, like retail, that is, not including homebrews. I have every single game, plus the ones that came out after it was discontinued. And then I have 80% of the cartridge library. And in the last 2.5 years, I have absolutely loved it. I've not put it down. Any chance that I get, I will. I love Tempest 2000. I love Iron Soldier. I love Battle Morph. I think World Tour Racing is amazing for a racing game on Jaguar standards.
How about that Atari cards?
And which one? Oh God, yes. You kidding me? Atari cards was great. Actually,
the price for that right now, though. Oh my God.
Oh God, I know. I'm lucky I have a copy.
Yeah.
I'm lucky I have a copy.
Crazy prices.
If people can't afford to buy that, that if they're collecting, there's that option. But then there's also the Atari 50 that came out a couple months back, and it has Atari carts on it. And for the record, I don't understand why Cybermorph gets so much hate. I understand like the memes and the AVGN video. I've played through it a couple times. I've beaten it within an hour and 20 minutes, and I've not hated it. And everything that the game got wrong, Battle Morph expanded upon and fixed it. And for those who don't know,
Yeah, I
Battle
agree.
Morph is the sequel for Jaguar CD, and is honestly a great game and runs fantastically on the Big Pimu emulator. Now, other consoles, 3DO is definitely going to be in my top five.
Yes.
I have a lot of good experiences with 3DO. I love playing D. 3DO was my first exposure to Lost Eden, and when I tell you, Cryo Interactive, they did such an amazing job on that story and the narrative and the effects and everything. It's basically like this retelling of Adam and Eve, but it involves dinosaurs and this really expansive world.
Hmm.
It's just such a beautiful game. So 3DO is definitely going to be in my top five. And as far as another console, so I'm not really a Nintendo fan anymore. I will be honest. I realize that Nintendo is not as good as it used to be,
Mm-hmm.
but I have to say Nintendo 64.
Yeah.
Nintendo 64 was my first 64-bit console, and I have so much exposure to it with Mischief Makers and 007, and there's so much nostalgia for it, for me personally, that I will never not see myself owning a Nintendo 64.
I love 64. The 3DO, yeah, I'm actually working on. We've got something coming out here soon with the 3DO. There's an ODE put out, and I was just working on it again last night. But big 3DO fan. I mean, it's got my favorite port ever of Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo. I think to this day it's still the best way to play. Lucine's Quest, if you like RPGs. Don't go after the physical; it's stupid expensive. But so ODE offers an
Mm-hmm.
option for for those people that want to play all these games
You
without the
know,
crazy prices.
there is one console that even through emulation has eluded me for years, and that is the Philips CDI. Um, I know that there are some good games on the Philips CDI. I know that for a fact.
Yeah,
But I
there
also
is.
realize that it's not ultimately a console, not originally at least. I mean, they tried to market it as a console at towards the end of its life cycle, but I think there's like 112 games. I might be incredibly wrong on that number. Um, but there's a good library there, and I can name about 30 to 40 games that are decent for Philips CDI standards.
Hmm.
But I emulating for it is so difficult, even with the RetroArch same CDI core that they released some time back.
Yeah,
Not every game runs, at least not some of the good ones like Mutant Rampage or some of the ones that require ultimately the ones that require the video accessory. I forget what
yeah.
that's called.
It's the
Um,
digital. I don't know.
Yeah.
I have it in mind because I have the Magnavox 550, which came with it already inside the console.
I recently started playing Burn Cycle. Um, so I have a handheld called the Retroid Pocket 3 Plus, and I use it for emulation and Android gaming. Um, and so I recently got CDI working on the Retroid Pocket through
Sure.
RetroArch, and I've been trying to go back and play through some of the games that I know that work, and just kind of enjoying those. Um, because like I said, I don't own all of these consoles, but I've had all these experiences. But anyway, and Burn Cycle, quite honestly, I think has to be, despite the cringiness of the acting, one of the best games on the Philips CDI. It has to be hands down a requirement to own if you own a CDI, in my
I'll have
opinion.
to get that one next.
Yeah, I'm a big CDI fan as well, and my buddy Fixel, he's the one that created the 3DO ODE, but and I think he's okay with me saying this now. He's working on a CDI ODE as well, so that's huge
Nice.
because there's pretty much never been anything done with the
Huh.
CDI physically. So yeah, he's working on that now, and I think we're going to be hearing something about it like here real soon. So definitely
I
wanted to plug
I
him in there.
definitely I definitely feel like Tiger Gamecom and the Philips CDI need better support from the gaming community as far as emulating goes, and preservation. I
Mm-hmm.
really do. Um, because they're so obscured and their libraries are fairly small, comparative to most consoles that are out today. Like Nintendo Switch has like 10,000 you can shift through, not including downloadable software. And then same thing can be said for PlayStation and Xbox. But for CDI, they had a fairly large library for the short life cycle that it offered. Most consoles that were out for more than 2 years barely pushed 120 games. Like Atari Jaguar, Sega SG-1000, like they never exceeded, they never hit the 3-digit margin.
Right.
Same thing could be said about the Atari Lynx. Excuse me, but the CDI managed to get 112 or 112 plus games, not including the adult titles, not to mention the multimedia software, several movies, several independent albums, and some other stuff. And I think there's like 7 homebrew titles, 6 or 7. So it's pretty good, I think, as far as like quantity over. I mean, maybe not quality, but quantity for sure.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of there's a lot of crap on CDI, right? Like, same with 3DO. I mean,
God.
I'm collecting the long box, slipcover 3 or CDI titles. Like, I'm going after the full set of those. I'm not a big fan of like 3DO and CDI have a lot of those games that just came in like jewel cases, like small jewel cases, and a lot. I've got probably 40 sealed CDI games that are like that, and a lot of them are like kind of crap, like encyclopedia, and there's like a dictionary title I
The
have,
Flowers
and
of Robert Mapplethorpe. Yeah,
yeah, Berenstain
actually, I
Bears,
can.
and it's just like a text, like it's not even really a game. Technically, it is, but yeah, there's a bunch of
I
those.
I actually have a funny story to tell you.
Yeah.
So I was looking. I was trying to find ROMs, like I said, or CD files to put on the Retroid Pocket, and I found one that I had never heard of. And I didn't realize that when I decided to load it up, that it was not a video game at all. It's called Peaches, and well, I wish I'd never opened it, but now I know because I didn't realize that CDI had adult content like the 3DO did. So I discovered now that it
Plumbers don't
does.
wear ties.
And, say what?
Plumbers
And
don't
that
wear
one.
ties. I still need that one.
I have that
I
one.
do remember that one.
I desperately
I do remember
want
that
that
one.
crappy game.
But I didn't know that outside of that game. Like, I knew there was one called, well, just, SEX, but I didn't know that there was any others. Because I know 3DO had, like,
There's
they
quite a
had Love
few.
Bites, they had Blonde Justice, was that Cyberpunk one? Nova something? No, it's not Nova. Is it Nova? Cyber. It's like a Cyberpunk one.
Yeah.
I can't think of
I
the
know what
name.
you're talking about, but I don't
Yeah, I
know the
think I've
name.
seen
So
like pictures of the games.
yeah, it's got the woman on the front
Well,
with like the fringed hair going like. I just can't remember the name.
yes,
Yeah.
yeah. So I knew of those, but I wasn't familiar with a lot of like the adult media CDI library. And I think that's interesting. But also we had to take into consideration all of this stuff came out before like the ESRB and stuff was like really established in video games. I mean, even the Atari Jaguar CD almost got its adult game with American Hero. It had Musetta Vander in it, which, by the way, I had a crush on Musetta Vander as a kid because Mortal Kombat Annihilation, but, not going to go there. But the point is we almost got an adult-related video game for the Atari Jaguar, and then the demos are out, or not the demos, but the prototypes are out, but the game was never released until it recently came back into publication through was it Ziggurat Entertainment or Ziggurat Games, who
I'm
basically
not sure.
revamped it 25 years later.
I'm not too sure on that, to be honest with you.
I know it wasn't Pico Interactive. I know Pico does their stuff. I'm pretty sure it was Ziggurat Games. But it's on Nintendo Switch. It's the censored version. So like they completely went in and CGI rendered like clothing to like in the stripper club and stuff like that, which I think is incredible because you can't even tell that it's CGI. Like it genuinely looks real, which is to me is very impressive. And then the HD upscale that they did, so like it's crisp, it's clean, it's not grainy or pixelated like you would often see on like the 32X or the Sega CD with like Night Trap or Sewer Sharks or stuff like that. And
Yeah.
anyway,
Yeah. No, I mean,
like I said, I will ramble.
No, you're good. I think it's a good topic.
I'm learning a lot of different things. There's a lot of things I need to do like these deep dives on.
Yeah, no, I agree. We've talked extensively about, like Atari Jaguar, all these systems I think, definitely are getting the respect now. Like there's more people seeking out these systems and more things
Oh
being
yeah,
done for them. I mean, it just blows my mind. Like, getting an ODE for the CDI to play, your games FPGA. You're not emulating them. You're playing it as if
I
you had
have
the
to go.
disc in there.
I have to make a statement here. I feel like as a fanboy and as somebody who advocates for the company, I don't work for Atari at all. First off, I advocate for them because I have talked to a lot of people with the company and I've had some genuinely great experiences with these people because of the type of channel that I run. And I have to say that if you are a video game collector, even if it's not for you, you are missing out if you don't pick up an Atari VCS. Atari VCS. The classic controller is designed very well. There have been some complaints about, maybe I'm heavy-handed and I break the joystick. Well, that kind of comes hand in hand with these types of things because this is a type of controller that hasn't been, done before. At least not in this way. But as far as like the rotary dial and the joystick and playing classic games and stuff like that, and even using it on PC mode, there are some emulators that will acknowledge that it's there. Um, the Atari VCS is honestly very underappreciated, and there are some games that are launched on it that are timed exclusives, like
Sure.
BPM Boy, Skinny and Franco, Gun Tech was one, Boulder Dash Deluxe was one, and Thrustlander was one. And these are games that um, are getting their first taste of life on this console. I think that the Atari VCS is getting its very first like official exclusive through In's Reach by Curious Entertainment,
I saw that.
and
Yeah.
that is going to be a relatively impressive open world.
It looks
Platform
impressive.
adventure.
And
Yeah,
honestly, I hope it stays exclusive over there because now I still don't have a VCS. I have the reason that I don't have one. I tried to get that bundle when it was $100, and I keep hoping that I can get it at that price point because I don't want to spend that extra money on it, just to be like frank with it. Like for me, I don't know that I'm going to have enough time, how much I'll actually get to
right.
use with it. So I'm waiting for a deal, but I do desperately want to get one.
So there's two things about that. So the $99 price tag that came out last year. Sorry, the carbonation from that water's getting to me. Anyways, so that was basically GameStop saying we don't want to hold on to this stock anymore because it wasn't moving, right? At the time, you have to keep in mind that Atari today is not the same Atari as it was before. There's only like 30 people who are running the company right now.
Yeah.
It's a very small team, and they're
Very
doing
small.
a lot for being such a small team.
Yeah.
In GameStop, basically the way that contract works is GameStop gets these consoles. They've already tanked their money into this investment, so Atari's already gotten their money out of it. And GameStop didn't have to sell them at that price. They could have held on to it, tried to market them as like, some kind of promotional deal. They could have done all that. But instead, GameStop chose to, let's just get rid of old stock. And they threw it on the floor for $99. Everybody went nuts, and the rest is history. Now, Atari, on the other hand, you can still buy the VCS from their website. They've dropped the value from $400 to $300 that comes with the two controllers. And then you also get some free content like the Atari Vault and a few other things. I don't remember what all those are, which you didn't get when it originally launched. And so you're getting a couple perks, and then there are some things that are exclusive to the VCS in some of the games. Whereas you can get the Recharge series on pretty much any platform,
Yeah.
or you can get Atari 50 on pretty much any platform. There are some exclusive features, like I forget which game. There's one game that's included only in the VCS version of the Atari 50, and then the Recharge series has exclusive levels and exclusive challenges and stuff like that. GunTech just put out some leaderboards, and if you go through and you play on GunTech, you can see like Atari VCS's logo underneath the leaderboard. So
Oh,
there's
okay.
people that are still actively playing that.
Interesting.
And I think it's really just a matter of time that people start to pick up on it and realize that maybe I should get this. But I think that if Atari if they find a way to where they can bounce it from like 300 to like 250, I think they'll sell a lot more. Because
Yeah.
every time they do like a 20% off deal, they fly off the shelves. When they discontinued manufacturing with their current manufacturer, the internet went nuts saying, "Oh my God, they discontinued it! They discontinued it!" And Atari has confirmed time and time again, "We're not abandoning this console. We're still going to make more. It just doesn't make sense to have a manufacturer contracted when we're paying them and they're not doing anything because basically there's nothing for them to do, right? So they canceled the contract." When they started doing the discounts and the sales and stuff, they started flying out of their warehouse. So I don't know how many they've sold, but I know there's a substantial amount of VCSs that have sold.
Yeah.
I just wish the company spoke more about it in like their press conferences and stuff. I don't know the future of Atari. I don't work with Atari. I'm not an employee of Atari. I haven't signed any NDAs or anything at all like that. And I can't say, where my information comes from. However, just know that the community that is behind the VCS, like the fans and the gamers and so on, and the developers, each and every single one of them is like 100% dedicated to it. It's an untapped market. The power level of the VCS is about on par with that of the Switch, if not a little bit more powerful, which is hard to believe most, but the way that it's optimized is absolutely perfect.
It's a microcomputer,
it can
really,
It is a microcomputer. I think it's 4 cores and 2 threads, or it might be 2 cores and 4 threads.
It's significant enough to, it's powerful. It's got some power to it.
But I'll say this. As far as, GeForce Now and Amazon Luna, AntStream Arcade, Air Console, even at one point Stadia, it handles it just fine. And I'm talking like games that typically run at like 60 frames a second. I mean, it does good. It handles it. And that left me with a bit of awe because it's like, I didn't expect it to be able to handle like 30 frames, maybe, not 60.
Sure.
I think his name is Levon Kaysen. He's got a YouTube channel where he was testing out PC games and he shows the frame rate and what all it does and stuff like that. So if you guys want to check him out for, to kind of like do your own research and stuff, he's got some content on that. I'm not going to sit here and lie to you and say that the VCS is the most amazing thing in the entire world. It's not. There are so many things that are greater than it. But if you were looking for a genuine modern console experience that is different from all the big three that's out there, the VCS is exactly where it's at. I mean, I can't say enough good things about it. I've had nothing but good experiences since getting mine. Every single game that I've played on it thus far has been good. My interactions with developers have been absolutely fantastic. And their dedication to the console, the dedication to the development for it has been impressive. The community is kind, it's uplifting. They are willing to buy a new game as soon as it launches, myself included. I mean, if you are a developer, you are guaranteed sales on the VCS. And so it's a missed opportunity, an untapped market if you don't explore that.
Definitely.
Anyway, like I said, I ramble.
No, I mean, I love seeing the support for, VCS. I think it deserves it for sure. We've got a lot of comments. Are you up to speed on those?
Yeah, I can. I'm just gonna power through a couple of them.
Okay,
Thinking
sure.
Inside the Box had jumped in and said, the Ouya, never thought I would hear anything about this again, let alone hear that there's a scene. And then, of course, people are appreciating our, retro talk. And then we jump on down. Carl is saying the Dreamcast is amazing. Thinking Inside the Box said Dreamcast Love. Love Dreamcast from Lord saying VMU Life. Carl said Gauntlet has been thrown down for Unreal Tournament now, so can't forget about that. Lord is saying downloaded games on the VMU and would play it like a mini Game Boy in high school. Thinking Inside the Box said Boom. Carl Peterson said N64 is so great. Blast Corps is my favorite on the system. There are so many great games. Just got Doom 64 for it the past week. Lord was saying, what retro game is anyone playing right now this week or whatever? I just started Star Wars Rebel Strike on the GameCube.
That's a good one.
And then, of course, everyone's responding saying Doom 64, Time Crisis 1 and 2, Point Blank. So there's
Time Crisis.
Yes.
Who remembers Time Splitters? Anybody remember that?
Love Time Splitters.
Yep.
Love it.
Dude, the sequel alone was just epic.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, sorry.
Great.
Yeah, that's
great
another
franchise.
good one. People are saying they still need Doom 64. It's really good, well worth the playing, Carl says. Though it did need to have turned the brightness right up to see anything. There were a couple games like that. Catching Daisies is saying enjoying the podcast. Thanks for giving love to these consoles. Lord is saying, is it Ziggurat? Ziggurat?
I do think it's Ziggurat Entertainment that did American Hero. They re-released.
Right.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
what they're
sounds right.
saying. Catching Daisies.
Ziggurat was a labyrinth, wasn't it?
What was that?
Like the word ziggurat, it's like a labyrinth or a pyramid or something like that.
I'm
Like
not
the
sure.
actual word. I'm pretty sure it's like a pyramid or something. I know that's like random, but like, you know.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
And then they're debating on the 3DO being better than the Jaguar.
Ooh. Oh, hey, hold on. Can I touch bases on that real quick?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
absolutely.
come on. I got stuff. Top tier Wolfenstein on the Atari Jaguar is way far superior to the 3DO.
I love Wolfenstein.
Brain Dead 13, Jaguar CD version, also superior. I'm not saying that the 3DO doesn't stand up to the Jaguar. It can for many reasons, but also the Jaguar has other games has other games in its library that complement the PC side more than it does as a console, like Doom, for example. And not to mention the fact that we have Doom mods now for Jaguar versus the Doom mods for 3DO. I think there's only one I knew of was somebody was working on a Doom mod. I don't know if they ever released it. And I think there was a homebrew that was released called, was it like BioFury or Bio something?
For the 3DO?
That came out. Yeah, there's a homebrew for the 3DO called BioFury. It's a first-person shooter.
I just downloaded something. Yeah, there are. I don't know. There was like at least 30 homebrews that I had downloaded in one folder for the ODE.
Right. No, so there was a video that was recommended to me, and I downloaded the zip file that was included in the description. I'll tell you what I'll do. When we're done with the podcast, I will go through my files and I will send that to you. But it was completed after a couple years of being in development. I don't remember if it was a first-person shooter, but I know it was a homebrew game that I was really interested in looking at. I don't want to get to lying. I just know that I get excited. But 3DO, in comparison, if the Atari Jaguar had just another year of life, they would have had a pretty good library of FMV games that would have blown the 3DO away. Just saying. But the 3DO is also is awesome in its own respects. What are they saying though? I can't see the comments.
Oh, there's a ton of comments.
Yeah, we're just catching up. So we had Todd join us. He's saying hi to everyone.
Todd Freeman. Yeah.
Yes.
Hi, Todd. Welcome to AA.
We have Lord saying just picked up a couple Japanese N64 games today to try that region free tray. And then Catching Daisies was talking about the adult video games.
Okay.
What'd they say? I'm so behind.
No, just saying that I guess they love them.
I was thinking about doing a video with my girlfriend where it's titled basically, we watch the adult 3DO games so you don't have to, and basically giving our honest reactions to how bad the acting is. But the thing is like if I do that, I will probably get like YouTube probably won't like it because knowing me and the kind of person I am, I will not censor anything. I will just put it up as it was intended. And so I don't know. I would have to list it as not for kids and all this other stuff. But I think it could be a really cool or interesting video. I think if
For some, yeah,
if
for
I get like
some.
a bunch
if
of
you
friends
do it
together,
right, where obviously nothing's shown, but you talk about it, maybe a cover
I'll
if
tell
it's
you what.
like if you're able to do so. I mean, to
You
be
heard
honest
it
with
here.
you, the preservation side of this, like Game Raymer would attest to this. It is important
I
to cover these things, but so
Yeah,
it
because
could be
like it,
something.
it all like goes to show off of everything too, and the whole ratings, and like they're not even the first adult video games. I mean,
Not even
on
close.
Atari you
Atari,
had
yeah, Custer's
oh god,
quite
Revenge.
a few of them.
Custer's Revenge. Yeah,
Yeah, I
There's
have all those lovely games.
hashtag Custer Revenge recharged.
man,
Let's
the
go.
prices of
Come on.
those games now. Listen, what's crazy?
Yeah, I have them sealed.
I
Beat 'em
wasn't
and eat 'em,
beat 'em and eat
Custer's
'em yet.
Revenge, Bachelor Party. There's even more. There's like the turnaround ones or whatever, where there's like I think a couple on the disc on the cartridge. I mean,
Yeah,
there's quite a few of them.
there's more than 10 at least. I know that there's a good chunk,
Because
and
everyone wanted to get their hands in the pot, and everyone was just making any type of game, and like
yeah.
should have had rating systems from the beginning if you really think about it. But at the same
You want
time,
it?
stores just either didn't sell them or put them up, on the top shelf or something like
But
that.
also let's be
I
real
do.
here. It is the 2600. I mean, what even with like I played Custer's Revenge, Beat 'em and Eat 'em. I mean, come on.
It's
Hey,
not
there were some
extreme.
pretty ambitious games on. There were some pretty ambitious games on the 2600. Like, I mean, look at Adventure, of all things,
Yeah.
right? I mean, like there were some very ambitious games for a generation that never knew of the genres and styles that we have
Yeah.
today. Like,
Yeah.
But I have to say something real quick.
Mhm.
So I know like the adult media for like the 3DO and stuff was exclusive to like hotels and stuff at one point because you could get Skinamax or HBO and stuff if you paid the extra. But I genuinely wonder if by some accidental chance, like a family went on a road trip, booked a hotel, kid got excited to see a 3DO, and then they realized. I wonder if that ever happened because if so, I feel so bad for any kid during that time.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't.
I'm sure it's possible.
Yeah, it's hard to say on that.
And then we
But
have
it's great that we But it's great that we have the ESRB now because we can kind of like we can protect a lot of things. I appreciate the ESRB so much because it also makes it really easy for you to filter out like, do I want something that's going to be like gory and exploding and have all kinds of really awesome themes? Cool. There's not a lot of those games, so you got a small selection of great titles to pick from nowadays. If you just switch everything to 17 plus, and it's just like,
Yeah.
I mean, you got Doom and you get No More Heroes and so many great games. I like being able to see these kinds of things now as an adult versus when I was like a teenager trying to sneak a gory game from my mother, from like Blockbuster or whatever. Anyway.
Yeah, Game Raymer, I got a question. Do you have any adult rated games by chance, like the actual A plus? Because I mean, there's only
probably do.
there's only a few. Like, there's not that
Yeah.
many, and I have never been able to track any down with like actually having that rating on the physically
I'll have to
showing
like
that
look.
rating.
I feel like I have.
There's
at least one.
so few and far between. Yeah, there's like only a couple, and I've never been able to find any. I've never seen any like in person, other than PC. I mean, I guess I don't really count PC, but
itch.io.
Yeah,
there's so many on itch right now. It's so bad.
Not that some of those like there's a couple with the A rating that it's not like around like a sexual material or whatever. Like there's actually some that have been given that rating kind of unfairly that probably should have been like M rated. There were like issues with like Manhunt and originally got rated A. Is it A plus? I think it is A something. Maybe it's just
of
A.
the consoles. of the consoles that we've mentioned thus far, the 3DO, Jaguar CD. Technically, we won't count Jaguar because it was never the game I mentioned was never officially released.
Right.
But of the consoles we've talked of, CDI, 3DO, 2600. Now that I think of it, I only know of like 12 titles because I know there's like 8 of them for the 3DO. There's 4 of them for the CDI. And then I only know of 3 for the 2600. But I do also know that there were a few of them for the original Xbox, like Dark Watch, which was a first-person vampire shooter, and basically it's this guy who's part of. It was supposed to be like a trilogy at some point, and this guy he kind of goes in on this train, gets bit by a vampire. He's trying to protect, other villagers and stuff like that from this race and trying to kill the main villain. And at the end of it, depending on how you play the game, it changes the narrative where either A, you sleep with a female villain or you kill the female villain. And they show it in detail. And that was the only adult, other than GTA, that I knew of, the adult themed game on Xbox. And I think honestly deserved way more credit than what it got. If the other sequels had came out, I think that would have been absolutely incredible.
And we're talking about Dark Watch?
Yeah, I think it's called Dark Watch.
I'm about to look it up.
Let me Google that.
Double check on that.
Yeah, I'm not too sure. I definitely know that there were titles that were going to be given the ESRB A rating that ended up getting censored down.
They have like a sticker.
Yeah, it's called Dark Watch.
Or something of
Dark
that,
Watch.
But I'm not sure.
Interesting. Yeah, I'm gonna have to look more into that later. Definitely. I'm always interested in the history and preservation side of this stuff.
It was supposed to have a trilogy, but for some reason they discontinued they canceled production for it. There was supposedly a demo for the sequel that was not released to the public. I don't know how true that is. But I've played through this game several times. I mean, you can beat it, I think, in like 4 or 5 hours if you really grind on it. But I have so many memories of playing this game. It's worth every penny. I had a mild obsession with first-person shooters growing up. I think I blame Doom and Unreal Tournament for that. I'm being honest.
Sure.
Because I mean, I think my first third-person shooter was Jet Force Gemini. Actually,
it's a great one. Just played that again. I say not too long ago. Probably about 4 or 5 months ago. I replayed that. And played some multiplayer. I filmed something with somebody a while ago. I never did anything with it, but we were going back because we played Jet Force Gemini as a kid. Played that multiplayer, and yeah, man, it's a super nostalgic game for me.
I'm gonna change up my scenery here. Make sure I showcase some nerd stuff.
No, that's fine.
We've got a ton more comments.
Wait, even better. I got this. Hold on.
Yeah, still a ton more. Thank you, Catching Daisies, again for all the compliments and stuff. And then we have people saying the show rocks. Millennial Collector Ohio, Aimer is the best. Thank you again. Why do you guys not have more people watching? Love you, my favorite channel and podcast. Are you planning to expand? Need more to like, comment, and subscribe. So they're talking about sharing it, and everyone else should share it. So that's great.
Yeah, appreciate it.
I have the perfect comment to that question as to why are there not more people watching? Because you haven't shared the Game Junction. Share it. More people will watch.
We appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have people saying, asking if you're going to do more with Game Junction. That's something that we can always. Yeah, I guess people are interested in that.
Is it the chiseled jawline, or is it just the goatee, or is it the fact that I decided to put on a helmet? Like, which is it? Because, yes, I'll come back if you guys want me to. I enjoy these.
Yeah, people are talking all about that. Even Escalated Friend is saying different things about making games and homebrews, and yeah. So there's just a whole bunch.
Oh, hey, I want to actually mention something here. And I also want to give, like, if it's possible, I don't know if this is allowed, but I want to give the group chat a chance to answer this. But has anybody here heard of Playdate by Panic?
Yes, absolutely.
Dude. So I just pre-ordered one, right? And I wanted to pre-order one a long time ago, but I wasn't sure if it
Same.
was vaporware at first. And they sent out the first batch, and then the video started going. I was like, okay, I'll buy it. And it never felt right to buy it because I didn't have $200 to throw. I think it's like 179. The point is, I finally
They
did.
just
Found
raised
a
the
deal.
price on it. It's $199 now. They just announced that a few
Yeah,
weeks ago.
I pre-ordered mine back in like early March before they went up, so it was like 179. And I think I'm batch 5. Batch 4 is supposed to be sent out pretty soon, and batch 5 will be sent out somewhere between September and the end of the year. So I won't get mine for a while, but I will be doing a ton of content based off of that. But they have this SDK that is on their website. Like, you don't have to download the SDK, the development tool. You can just go on their website, design a game, and throw it on there. Like, they literally don't care. Like, you can just put it on there. And it is so incredible, and I'm excited to get my hands on one because I really want to know. Like, how does that crank feel? Like, I can see myself, and I'm seriously considering this. I promise you guys, I'm seriously considering this. Making a first-person shooter where the main weapon is a Gatling gun, and you got to use the dial to shoot. Because there is this like 3D handle that you can attach to the bottom of it, and can you imagine holding it like a gun? And just,
So there's a game that pretty much does that. That is out for
is
it.
there? Oh,
Yeah,
dang it.
yeah. I
Never
mean,
mind.
hey, I mean, it could still be, an idea for another game. What's crazy is that there are over 200 games for the Playdate already.
Mm-hmm.
200 games, insane.
Yes.
And I mean
Yes.
that handheld. So here's my only critical point on that. And
No LED.
yeah, it's not backlit, which is insane in 2023 or even 2020, 2019 when it got announced technically. Um, and I feel like they are going to probably do a revision on it with a backlit screen. I think that
I hope
that's
they
a
do.
big downfall of it. Like that doesn't make sense. But man, that system's got so much potential, and the games being made for it already, like, it just blows me
Mm-hmm.
away. Blows me away. I don't have
There's
one yet, but we definitely will cover that for sure. No doubt about that.
whenever I get mine. Like I said, I went ahead and ordered one. I have every intention of doing a ton of content on it. I don't know if I'm gonna like it. I know I love the idea of it. I even showed one
Sure.
of my friends who's not even a gamer. Like he's 100% mechanic. He's not a big gamer at all. He still plays the Wii. That's the only thing he has, right? Like,
Good
and
system to
so
have.
and I showed honestly, and
Yeah.
so I showed it to him. He's like, "Dude, I kind of want one." And I'm like, "Do you now?" He's like, "Yeah, I think it's really cool." And we went into detail about it, and we talked about it. I showed him the trailer, the demos, and showed him the SDK and all this other stuff. And honestly, I would love to get my hands on one as soon as possible. But beware of price scalpers on eBay. They're going for like $400 when you don't
Whoa.
have to pay that to get one.
Jeez.
So anyway,
Yeah.
So just
supply and
to go through a little bit more of the comments. Thank you again for all the compliments, everyone. Lord, catching daisies. People are still talking about sharing and stuff too. Thinking Inside the Box was talking about preservation, and then they were also thinking some of the same games that we had mentioned when we were talking about the adult ones. Yes, we need the shares, likes, comments, so please, YouTube algorithms. So we do appreciate all of that. Best channel on YouTube. That's very nice. Duke Nukem.
Yeah. Thank you.
oh yes,
Yes. Manhunt. Carl saying Manhunt is or was banned in our country. And then everyone's just talking about tons of different things. And then we have, is it Gigi or Gigi? I need to know that. So can someone please, I don't want to say it wrong.
Yeah, I don't know.
So we
what is
have
the username?
Gigi McGee, or is it Gigi McGee?
In one of the, I
I'm
always
pretty-
say GG McGee when I've been streaming, so I don't know either.
I'm gonna go with Brandon. I'm gonna vote for GG McGee.
Is that what it is?
I'm gonna say that.
I hope that they comment like a phonetic, like multiple E's for like E. Oh yes, you said it right. So which one?
Which one? Which one was right?
Gigi or
Is it
Gigi?
Gigi? Is it Gigi McGee or GG McGee?
If it's GG, just spell it Jeejee, and we'll get it. I promise.
Yeah. Gigi or GG McGee.
What is it? What is it? Let us know.
I need to know. I need to know.
Watch him just be like, good game.
Probably
Good
gone
game.
now. Okay,
We're not
but then
picking on you.
Yeah, but then they put JGEE. GEE.
I don't
Well,
know
hey,
about so.
I did say if it was GG to say J, and they did it, so it's GG. All right, one last thing to prove it. If it's GG, just say Game Junction is awesome.
Gigi.
I
GG.
tried. Okay,
G.
I'll stop being dorky.
Like GG. GG McGee or GG McGee?
I don't even know. What is going on?
Sorry, I just wanted to say it right. Anyway, they said, can you tell what your top 10 2600 games are?
Mine?
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay. This is so unfair. How about this? Instead of 2600, can I give you my top favorite Atari games?
Sure.
Because there's so much to be said, and I would rather do top 10 Atari games because I feel like that narrows it down a lot for me personally.
They said G with G, not J.
So
Gigi?
probably Gigi.
Gigi McGee?
Gigi McGee.
Is that right?
I don't know.
Yes. Okay, it's Gigi McGee. Okay,
all right,
good.
Gigi McGee. All right, we got it. Hey, so at least I know I've been saying it right. That's cool.
I feel bad because I wanted to make sure I said it
right.
right.
No, yeah, they always tune in, so we definitely appreciate you.
Yes, we do appreciate you.
100%.
Okay. So, all right, I'll go ahead and answer that person's question. Okay, so my top 10, I definitely have to say Pitfall is going to be one of them.
It's a good one.
Okay.
Pretty much anything from Activision, honestly.
Jack Black was in that commercial for Pitfall. Yep. Which is crazy.
That was in my short.
He was.
Yeah, insane.
I mentioned Adventure before, so I'm going to say Adventure.
Yes.
I've played so many variations of Breakout, like Brick Break and Brick Masters, Wizorb. Oh my god, if you guys have never played Wizorb on Ouya, I know it just like got relaunched after 10 years on Nintendo Switch, but Wizorb is just incredible.
I don't know if I've ever heard of that game.
Oh, dude, really?
Came out like digitally for Switch, or does it have a physical? Or?
Yeah, it's on the Switch store now, I believe.
Oh,
so okay. It was originally launched on Ouya. You have 5 or 6 major levels, and it's like Arkanoid, right? But it has an RPG element to it, and it has beautiful 16 to 32-bit graphics, and it's just perfect. So you basically play as this wizard who can transform into this energy ball that goes around blasting bricks and killing monsters and stuff like that, and you earn coins and special abilities to help rebuild the town that has been destroyed. And so it has this little RPG element to it that's really cool, and special abilities that you can modify. And I loved it. I picked it up. I beat it in one day. I didn't put it down. And it gets a little tedious and repetitious, but the game's not incredibly long. The only thing that takes so long is when you get that last brick that you have to destroy, and the ball won't hit it. And so you're just there bouncing it back and forth for like 10 minutes straight, and then you finally get it. That's the only part about it that sucks. But that's like with every Breakout, Brick Break game ever. Anyway.
They're fun though.
Anyway, 2600. I'm gonna say River Raid.
Okay.
That's a good one.
Definitely gonna say that. To be honest with you, Pac-Man was originally arcade, but I've played Pac-Man on 2600. It's not great, but I would definitely have to say that would be my collection. How many has that been so far?
That game is
Maybe
so
like
bad.
5.
That game is so bad. I gotta argue with you on that one.
I'm drawing a blank here.
Break something.
Okay.
Yeah.
River
5.
Raid.
5, right? River Raid.
Pac-Man.
Yeah.
So 5 more.
Yep.
Okay. God, it's so tough.
I mean, you could just say general Atari games. Like,
I'm
yeah.
a, I'm a pick basic math. How about that?
I mean, Atari. You
um,
know, if we're being real,
Keep it at
Atari was
5.
making games on PS2, PS3. You know,
Yeah, we could
let
keep it
me.
at 5. We don't have to just stick to
yeah. If
10.
you don't have
If
any
you want to
more,
just say a solid 5, that's great.
No,
yeah, for
it's not that
sure.
I don't have more. It's just I genuinely have a lot of favorite games from Atari now. Like,
Mhm.
okay, so I grew up playing Tempest in my home arcade. First off,
Okay.
which was great because there wasn't too many
Sure.
arcades in the '90s that still had an
That's a
original
great.
Tempest arcade.
That's a great cabinet. Yeah, I would
Yeah.
love to
God,
find
yes.
one someday. Love
I
to.
I don't know whatever happened to it. It was just I was there for a long time and then it was just gone one day. And I also had really good memories with the arcade version of Crystal Castles and Centipede. And I've mentioned this before in one of my videos. I think the BCS Honest Review video. I think I mentioned that. Um, but my exposure to Atari was ultimately in the '90s. That is, was ultimately just in arcades,
Mhm.
which is kind of ironic, honestly, when you think about it. Um, if I had to pick some of my favorite games, I'm gonna say Tempest in general is always going to be a favorite. Tempest was the first game that I was excited to relive when I got my VCS.
Sure.
Tempest 2000 on the Jaguar is also one that I was really excited about when I got it. The only thing I don't have is the soundtrack, but I have the soundtrack on YouTube, so I mean I can still pop it in and stuff and jam to it. But as far as Atari games go, um, Scrapyard Dog is one of my favorites. Berserk is great. I should have said Berserk
Love
originally.
Berserk
Yes.
Berserk is
Yeah.
great.
and
What?
Frenzy.
Yeah, they actually just reacquired Berserk.
Yep.
And was it 11 other? I think they acquired that and 11 other games.
Yep.
Yeah.
Recently.
Yep.
And I know they did night. They got contracted with Night Dive Studios.
Yes. Yeah, I saw that.
Defender. Defender's definitely a classic. But if I'm gonna go ahead and throw in, I'm gonna go ahead and throw in like from the 64-bit and 16-bit era, just to kind of have a little bit of variety. If we're talking Atari Jaguar, I'm gonna say iWar. iWar
Okay.
deserves more credit. iWar is such a fantastic game, in my opinion. The music is good, the colors are good, the puzzle platforming aspect of it while you're inside of this like cybernetic world, while you're also playing as like a cyber tank is really cool. So it's got like a mix of like Battlezone, but also with kind of like a polarity vibe. If you ever played that on Ouya. Um, and if I'm gonna say for links, hmm, links. I want to pick one
Do you
from
like
links.
Gauntlet on Links?
God, yes, I love
I
Gauntlet. Are you kidding me?
played through that game a few times. I've got Stone Age Gamer sent out a Atari Lynx EverDrive that I'm going to be setting up here
Yes.
soon, but I'm going to showcase some stuff on that. Oh god, we got so
My
much coming up
my
with all that stuff. A lot of retro coverage coming up. So
my exposure to Gauntlet was actually Gauntlet 2. I
sure.
remember I really wanted to play Gauntlet Legends on the 64, but my mother never bought it for me. And I don't remember exactly how I got my hands on Gauntlet 2 because I think I was like 8 or 9. No, I was about 9 or 10 years old, and it was so long ago. I mean, I'm 31, and oh my god, I don't remember how I got my hands on it, but I remember I enjoyed it so much. Um, but definitely Gauntlet is a great choice for sure.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. Gauntlet 3 was on the links too, because you could play as the wizard or the nerd or I'll be damned. I forgot there was a version for the links.
Do you like so this is on tons of platforms, but California Games is my favorite version of the game on Links. I think it's fun.
I am so sorry to tell you that I am not a fan of California games, let alone any sports titles.
Mm.
So my thing is when it comes to sports titles is there's like 37 variants of Madden alone. And although although there are so many different variations and like really like niche ways to play sports games, to me they're They're ultimately all the same, and so it's
Mhm.
really hard for me to enjoy them. And that doesn't mean that I knock it for anybody at all. I know I have spoken to several people who really love sports games and stuff like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah,
Mhm.
sure.
But I feel like if I'm gonna play soccer, I'm gonna just go play soccer. You know?
Yeah, no, I get it.
Like, does that
I'm
make
not
sense?
necessarily a sports game guy either, but California games,
I don't.
I only like the Links version, like
I don't know if that's like
NES, like
rude to
all.
say. I apologize if that's
No,
offensive to
not
anybody.
at all. Did you play
I don't know. I just never
Cyberball on Links or Crystal Mines 2? There's
say again.
that. Cyberball, Crystal
Yes. No. I have.
Mines 2,
Yes.
Viking Child.
I
There's
have.
so many good ones on there.
I have played a few of those. I have played Crystal Mines. Now, I will say I will say that I have had some good sports games experiences. Um, there is a Gridiron Thunder, which was really good. Um, Brutal Sports Football was really good, in my opinion. But those also have gimmicks that kind of like separate themselves apart. Now, you know what? I take that back. NBA Jam. NBA Jam on the Sega Genesis was just top tier.
Oh,
Good
Yeah.
choice if you ever wanted to
all
get
day long.
a sports.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So
The Jaguar
I will
CD
give it. I
version
will
of
give
that game
it.
is really good too.
So NBA Jam on the Jaguar was cartridge based.
There's a oh god, well, it got a
That no,
release. It was tournament edition. I guess it wasn't an official release. But I can't. You can't
was
really
there?
go. Oh yeah, yeah, definitely. There's definitely a
Mhm.
homebrew version of it. I played it on there, but there's also, I mean, NBA Jam on just about anything has. I mean, there you can't really go wrong with NBA
Yeah.
Jam. You know, it's been a fun
Huh.
game on just about everything I played, but yeah, Atari Lynx. I mean, we could be talking like Atari published games for like, didn't Atari publish like a Dragon Ball Z game or a few, right?
I
I
think
think
that
they
would be interesting.
Dragon Ball Z Sagas. I think they put that out.
You know, I tell you what, I kind of want to transition into something real quick, seeing as we're
Yeah,
on the topic of sports.
definitely.
Yeah.
So I'm not, like I said, I'm not a very big sports guy. However, there is a movie franchise that I have been obsessed with for a long time called Rollerball. And
Yes.
if that was ever adapted into either a real sport or a video game, I'd pick it up on day one in a heartbeat. I absolutely love the 2006 movie. Was it 05 or 06? Anyways, there was one that came out with Rebecca Romaine and LL Cool J, and I loved that movie so much. I've seen it so many times. I remember the Warner Brothers Network used to stream it all the time on primetime television uh, before like the switch from analog to digital, and I grew up watching it on TV along with like Meteor Man and Blank Man and Ace Ventura and all these really cool movies. But I would totally play a brutal sports type game. Like if I can smack somebody off of whatever it is that they're on, or toss a ball at somebody's head or something like that in a heartbeat,
What
I'd
about?
probably pick that
Do you
up.
like Mutant League? Any of that
Say that
series?
again.
Mutant League. Have you played any of those games?
Yeah, they have that.
There's a
No,
bunch of.
but
There's a new
spell
one
that
even
for
on
me. I'm gonna look at it.
MUTANT and then
Yeah,
League.
Mutant League.
Yeah, there's
And then
a new one on Switch even. So
Carl's saying Speedball and Speedball 2 are kind of similar to Rollerball in concept, at least.
I do agree. I definitely do agree. But it doesn't give me that like
Yeah.
that itch that I'm looking for. You know what I mean? Like I really want that like hardcore in your face, pumped up iron, music blaring in the background, kind of like type thing. I would pay so much good money for something like that. And if you guys know a game like that, please, I swear to God, let me know.
well, maybe someone can make one now. Kraz Productions recommended it, so never know.
Yeah, and we'll
You
get to those
flatter me.
comments. We're not ignoring them. It's just the convention. I have a couple questions that popped into my head, so we'll kind of save those for a little bit, if everyone would not mind, because then we can get
Yeah.
into like a whole topic on that. We'll just let even more if anyone has more comments to come on in. I did want to hit some of the news for everyone who's
Oh
watching.
yeah. We haven't,
Um,
we haven't even gotten
This
to
just
anything
in.
on our notes actually,
just
which is
real quick, we'll
fine.
hit
Which is
that.
fine. Yeah, we're good.
Because I know people are talking about conventions and which ones and meet and greets, and we'd also like to, ask our guests and everything too.
Yeah,
Which
absolutely.
ones. But we'll just go ahead and quickly hit some of the news, and then we can come back to all this for
Yeah.
everyone watching.
And this just in, Kazdan has to go to the bathroom, so back to you. I'll be right back.
So for the news, we have the Funko Fusion was announced. It's a mashup co-op action game that features Funko characters and worlds from Jurassic World, Back to the Future, The Umbrella Academy, The Thing, Child's Play 2, Masters of the Universe, and other NBC Universal properties. This is the first game from 1010 Studios, it was founded by TT Games veterans like Arthur Parsons, who worked on as the lead designer on about a dozen of TT Games' Lego games. The characters' heads and limbs pop off, so this kind of looks like a more, mature in nature style game. And then, of course, even having like Child's Play and The Thing and all those characters that I saw, it looks like a Lego game. Like, it really does look very similar to that.
It
Like
reminds me of Lego Dimensions. Do you guys remember that?
yeah.
So where they had all the, you had Scooby Doo and you had Ben 10. I mean, there was a ton of those properties for that. Harry Potter, War of the Rings. Yeah, it reminds me of that sort of deal where you can buy like the set and play with that character in that said universe. And I don't know,
Yeah, I
man.
think it has
I'm not
potential.
I'm
I'd
not
like
a
to see
Funko
it.
collector, but I think this looks cool. I could get into it.
Yeah.
It's like a Skylanders, Lego Dimensions, sort of Disney Infinity sort of vibe to me a little bit. So yeah, I think
Yeah.
it's cool.
I-
With Kraz saying that, actually, we are going a little bit longer tonight. I got to run to the bathroom myself. I've been holding it for a minute, so give
I'm
me just a
sorry,
sec. No,
it's the
you're good.
water, man.
You're good, man. You're good.
It's okay,
Next,
I missed you guys.
yeah, you said that you knew about Guardians in the Galaxy, right? So do you want to, we can talk
Yes.
about that one. So Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 trailer was released. The movie is in theaters May 5th, so that's right around the corner.
So I want to mention something about this.
Mhm.
I actually happen to have a friend, and this is a special shout out to him.
Mhm.
And I know that he would appreciate hearing this. So his name is Scooby Rogers, and he actually was on the set for the Christmas special of Guardians of the Galaxy.
Wow.
And if you pay attention towards the end of it, you'll see a bald alien in the background, just a 5'6", 5'7" white guy, bald head. He's got this like thing over his arm. That's Scooby, and I'm so glad he got that screenshot because that's incredible. Just to be able to say that I was sort of there is just
Yeah, that's awesome.
good for him. Good for him. Just want to say that. And I saw the preview, or actually, I don't know if it was a preview. Okay, so basically the story of Rocket. Can we talk about that? Like,
Probably.
okay,
Unless
so
anyone's opposed to any of it.
Rocket's character breaks my heart in so many ways because he's this rough and tough raccoon,
Mm-hmm.
but like he has such a heart-filled story behind why he is the way he is, and
Mm-hmm.
it breaks my heart. Like they know what they're doing when they did that scene, and it just there was like a lot of speculation of they're gonna kill Rocket off or whatever. I don't think they're gonna kill Rocket off. I don't, but I definitely feel like his arc is going to make a lot of people cry. A lot of people are gonna cry.
So is this like a first thing that you're gonna go watch?
Oh God, yes, in a
Okay.
heartbeat.
All right, perfect. Yeah, I'm not sure if he's gonna go watch it, right away. We have some people saying, Carl said, Rocket is one of my favorite characters of all time, and then Catching Daisy said Rocket sucks.
Well, Catching Daisies. What was it? Catching Daisies?
Yes.
Catching Daisies. Rocket sucks. Well, I only have one thing to say to you, and that is, I am Groot. And I hope you know what that translates to. You're entitled to your opinion. I get it. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. I promise. Don't be mad at me.
Yeah, I feel like some people are gonna go watch it. Probably some will eventually watch it. So, we all like a little bit of different things. So that's kind of what this is all about. And then, did you see the Flash trailer or anything about that? Because that's
So
also,
I'm
out.
unpopular opinion. I'm not a huge fan of the Flash.
Okay.
I don't particularly like the actor Ezra, and I think they replaced him actually. But I haven't really followed. I haven't really followed the series, to be honest with you. I didn't grow up as a DC kid. I grew up as a Marvel kid, and so I've kind of shied away from a lot of that, like Justice League and so on. I always had Batman in my life, but the Flash is just not something that I follow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel like that's probably one that I need to kind of follow a little bit more. I got a little bit behind on some of the different movies all across DC and Marvel, so I do need to get caught up on quite a few of those myself. But
I will tell you.
at some point.
I'll tell you, Marvel has some characters that they really need to try to adapt to films.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if too many people know this, but Marvel technically went bankrupt in 1997. So back in the 1990s, the cartoon sales were at an all-time high, and the comic book sales are at an all-time low. And so we ended up transitioning into like digital media. I mean, Stan Lee even at one point quoted, and okay, I have to quote this man because I love Stan Lee so much. Rest in peace. But so he was asked about like the transition between like physical comic books into digital media, he said, "Well, am I allowed to say anything like vulgar if it's only a quote before I say this?" Because he made a vulgar quote that was honestly like so like him.
I feel like everyone's an adult, maybe in the chat. So
Okay,
I feel like
I'll say it.
A quote should be okay.
I'll say
Sorry,
it,
guys.
but if you have to bleep me out, I understand. So he basically was asked like about the transition of physical media to digital media and how he felt about comics losing traction. And he said, "Well, my opinion about comic books becoming digital media is pretty much this. I like to attribute comic books much to like a pair of breasts. It looks great on a screen, but I would very much rather hold them in my hand." That was his answer, and I love that man because of it.
Wait, what's wrong with saying that?
It was a quote. It was a quote. Just didn't want to offend anyone. That's all. But it was a quote by Stan Lee, so I feel like that was okay.
Okay, say it again. Maybe I misunderstood something. I missed something.
Yeah. Okay, so Stan Lee had been asked about the transition of comic books into digital media like Kindle and stuff like that,
Sure.
Amazon Fire, and he when he was asked basically about like how he felt about the transition, he says, "Well, I don't really think that comic books are going to go much of anywhere because when it comes to comic books, I like to think of them like a pair of breasts. It looks nice on a screen, but I would very much rather hold them in my hands."
Oh, I missed that first part there.
Like I said, if you have to bleep me out, go for it. I did ask first.
Yeah, we're live, so.
And by that I mean the special KFC recipe. Okay, you have to get the 10-piece bucket, So, but yeah. Anyways, but Stan Lee is such a gem. But the reason why I mentioned like they're near bankruptcy in '97 is that they had some amazing characters that they to this day have not implemented in the ways that they've needed to. Like Squirrel Girl, for example, she had a 12-issue run. There was a single issue run. Okay, X-Men Origins, right? Wolverine, that is. They featured a guy in the film by the name of Chris Bradley. He was in a camper.
Oh, you mean Deadpool? Just kidding. he was also in this movie. That is crazy. Yeah, I'm actually a big Squirrel Girl fan. I read the last miniseries
everywhere, and you said this, and I was
we need a Squirrel Girl movie.
I like her.
It would be amazing.
I like Squirrel Girl. They did take advantage of her just a few years ago. They were really like she got popular for a minute.
There, it was the character that I'm mentioning about the movie. So he was in a camper. He could act. He could turn light bulbs and stuff on in the scene where he's being
Yeah.
confronted by Sabretooth, and they never used him the way they needed to. Chris Bradley was featured in 1995 in issue number 8 of X-Men, X-Men First Contact. He was a young boy who had the ability to manipulate electronic devices around him. He went through
Yeah.
puberty, his abilities activated, his best friend got terrified of him, he couldn't get the girl of his dreams, and for that single issue, for 40 pages, you get to see this detailed, terrifying story of a boy who is kind of coming into his own. And then he finally meets the X-Men, he gets a hold of his powers, and then he realizes he's also going to die by the mutant killing virus. And so he goes on this rampage because he's just, my life is this, my life is that. And then at the end of it, Bobby Drake, Iceman, sits with him in front of a lake underneath the moon and tells him how everything's going to be okay and how he needs to make the best of it all. And at the end of the comic, he gets the girl, right? It was a single issue. His character came back for 2 issues. I forget the second comic he came back in, but he came back in 2003 as a character named Maverick that was ultimately killed off.
Interesting.
They need to do something with this guy.
Yeah.
And the only chance they had, they ruined it because he was such a small character compared to the likes of Logan.
What about Rubber Man? I mean, why is Rubber Man?
Oh
not
my
getting
god,
any spotlight?
yes, dude, yes. There are, like I said, there are so many characters. Blink needs her own side story, for Christ's sake. You know, X-Men, right? So there was the death of Charles Xavier. Did you guys know Magneto had a kid with Rogue?
Yeah, I did know that.
Right. Nobody remembers that.
Mm-hmm.
No one remembers that. Like, the one person who can't touch anybody. Like, I'm sorry. It's just like, Marvel, come on, guys. Come on.
So what would be like your favorite? I mean, I don't know how deep you go into like comic books, but what would be like some of your favorite, I don't know, miniseries or like events that happened in comics, like, you know,
Does it have to be Marvel?
No, I mean any of them. You know, I've read a lot of those. Worlds Collide, Civil War. You know, all the big ones.
So,
pretty much I've read.
some of you guys probably grew up with like the Newgrounds era of the internet and stuff, when like Flash animation was becoming like a major thing.
Oh yeah, Mini Clip, Newgrounds,
And
all those.
and there was a guy. His name was James Farr. He's still around. And he runs a music group called Doomwell. You can find his album online and stuff. But when I was a kid, 2003, he did a 5-minute Flash animation called Zombie, spelled with an X, not a Z. And it follows the story of this sentient zombie by the name of Dirge, who stumbles across a 8-year-old girl who has washed up on the beach. And with the help of his pet dog, who is also undead by the name of Cerberus, protects this girl over 9 episodes, technically 10 because episode 5 was 2 parts, to help her get to the Acropolis where the last of the human civilization resides. And then they part ways. And it is such an amazing Flash series. You can find the whole thing online. The reason why I bring it up, though the episodes are on YouTube as well, but the reason why I bring it up is he ended up continuing the franchise by creating a contract with Devil's Due Publishing and created a 5-issue run for Zombie. And it gives you so much in-depth story of these characters, and now the 8-year-old girl is grown. She's like 16 or 17 years old, and she's, you know, learning to become independent and stuff like that. And you learn where he gets his name from. And for those who are unfamiliar, Dirge, his name, is actually a terminology for the singing of the dead. And as a theater guy, like, I really like, you know, classical music, you know, like Chopin and Mozart and Beethoven. I mean, Moonlight Sonata 8, and, you know, one of my favorites of all time. Clint Mansell's Requiem for a Dream, Requiem for a Tower. All of those. And anyway, so he adapted it into a comic book that became a cliffhanger, and then finally he started a season 2 on YouTube, and now is making plans to create a full-length movie dedicated to it. Don't know where that's going.
Wow.
Don't know have any more details, but well worth every single minute put into that. Well worth watching it. I have so many good memories from that. I love it. I even had a cat named after this guy. I'm serious. So I would recommend that as a comic. But if I had to pick something that was more well known, I definitely have to say Power Rangers. There's the Hamilton comics and then the Marvel comics that had the VR Trooper tie-ins on the back.
Yep.
But then there's Boom Studios, and the story for Boom Studios is so expansive right now that it's creating a whole new universe of Power Rangers in a superhero aspect kind of way that has never been done before.
I mean,
So
yeah,
that's
the
definitely
Ninja Turtles and all the crazy stuff they're doing.
Gotcha.
The Boom Studios
So,
stuff with Power Rangers is incredible. I mean, absolutely incredible. So expansive. I follow a channel that does shorts just on talking. I've missed some of this stuff. I kept up. I started
right.
reading when it first launched, and I stopped around the first TMNT crossover. I know they've done it again or are doing it
Yeah.
again. But man, I'm just telling you, the story behind that is crazy, and the characters we're getting blows my mind. I love Power Rangers, so.
I actually just recently bookmarked a video by. Do you know who Este is?
I don't think so.
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
So, Este, he's a YouTuber who his channel is exclusively about Power Rangers. I just recently bookmarked one of his videos where he talks about the exclusive Rangers in the comic book franchise. Here's one thing that most people don't know. So Bulk and Skull on several different occasions has technically become Power Rangers. It's not just in the Hamilton comics. They had a chance. I think it was issue 4. It was after the transition of Jason, Zach, and Trini into Aisha, Adam, and Rocky. So I think it was issue 4 of Hamilton. They had to come back, and then of course there was a series where they tried to pretend to be Power Rangers, and that failed. And then they also helped them in Zeo, and they in the comic books they became I forget the dinosaurs that they chose, but they were basically purple and orange, which meant that it was the first orange Mighty Morphin Ranger and first purple Mighty Morphin Ranger. And I think, sorry, Dust. Yeah, I think it's about 4 or 5, not 7 times that they've actually kind of come to be an aid to the Rangers.
Yeah.
And of course they had that little cameo in the Once and Always that debuted last week.
Yes, I have not gotten to watch it yet. We talked about it a couple times. I definitely plan on watching that this week. I wanted to do it before today because I wanted to talk with you. Yeah, it's been a crazy week, but I'm definitely going to watch that this week. I'm super excited to watch that.
I had some emotional moments watching that. It was definitely hard, and I appreciated the nods. I don't know if you guys know this, but the voice samples that they use for Tommy and Kimberly, because you never see them out of suit, but the voice samples are original voice samples from Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. And the Once and Always special was actually filmed before JDF passed away.
Yes.
So there's that to consider. So that was actually the last time that his suit would be seen on screen in his lifetime, which is really tough.
It is.
Actually, do you mind if I talk about the documentary real quick?
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So, so me and a couple friends, we band together to work on a short documentary. I just actually uploaded it yesterday to my YouTube channel.
Mm-hmm.
And basically, we band together to kind of make this documentary. Ty Brunner, Daniel Dorn, Andrew Outen, and myself. There was supposed to be Kevin Porter was actually supposed to narrate it, but I screwed up with the email and sent the wrong draft, and unfortunately time just didn't match up. So I take full responsibility for that. It would have been an honor to have him as part of the project, but my friend Daniel, who helped us write it, actually ended up narrating it because of last minute. And we showcased the documentary at Fayetteville Comic Con in an attempt to raise awareness to suicide prevention and help raise donation for research into suicide and stuff like that. And one of the things that we mentioned in there is actually Once and Always, and the link um, of his life, since starting Power Rangers and the legacy he's left behind and stuff like that. And it's a very, very we put a lot of heart into making sure that we did everything right in the documentary. So far, reception for it has been good, but we don't have a whole lot of views. It's only got like 110 views, and I've shared it on multiple like Power Ranger Facebook groups. So, but we also did a follow-up interview at the premiere with Mr. Gatto, Mr. Michael R. Gatto, and Mr. Alan Palmer, who Michael Gatto played the young version of Tommy Oliver in the franchise during season 3.5, which was the Alien Rangers of Aquitar arc. And Alan Palmer was the black alien Aquitar Ranger who came in to help the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers because they had lost their powers. And so they gave their experiences with working on set, and it was a genuinely amazing experience being able to share that level of connection with these people who, for my childhood, has in a way always been there,
Yeah, definitely.
And without getting like too somber or whatever, I really feel like Power Rangers for me as an influence not only shaped who I am as a man,
Sure.
but who I am as a friend and as a person, and I would love to have those attributes in the future should I have a child, and I would love to teach them those ideals. And,
Which was something that Power Rangers did well. I mean, it always,
oh gosh,
always was teaching stuff that.
With it, I used to dress up all the time, and
do you guys remember the like, I guess you would call them, I don't know what the exact word is, it's slipping my mind. They're kind of like adverts at the end of like the G.I. Joe cartoon and He-Man, where they would give like a 60-second thing of, like a lesson of the day, like, be good to your friends and they'll be back good to you.
They did that with Sonic and stuff too.
Yeah, all
did it with
those
so
cartoons.
many different cartoons and things like.
Yeah, the 90s was filled with that. Like Captain Planet, they give like a thing at the
end.
Oh
god, yes.
At the end of all those shows that, it was like a lesson for the kid watching, and the PSA, that Carl just said PSA. So yeah, that's what it was. Always a PSA at the end of those. And like the Sonic ones, those stuck with me. Like from Sonic Underground, when Sonic would tell you something at the end that was like a quality attribute for kids, and that stuff stuck with me till this day. I would say especially with He-Man, G.I. Joe, and Sonic, especially with Sonic Underground, but all
like
of
they
those.
Used to talk about recycling and all kinds of like
Captain Planet, like always
different things.
I love that.
I do
stuff.
Agree.
They don't do that anymore.
90s cartoons and 90s animes were such a different breed. I mean, so not to mention the fact that you had a ton of video game adaptations. You had Super Mario, you had Sonic, you had Dark Stalkers or Vampire Saviors, however you want to call it.
Yeah.
And then you had Virtua Fighter, Power Stone had its own cartoon. Captain N, which was pretty much all the Nintendo franchises mixed together. Donkey Kong had Battletoads, almost had one. They have a pilot out on YouTube, but it never became a thing. And Earthworm Jim, Rayman had a 4-episode mini web series that was released in the early 2000s.
Yep.
And then you just had so many to choose from, so many icons that you could look up to. And I feel like cartoons today have really lost that luster. And even the reboots of Voltron and She-Ra and stuff like that, they don't hold the same weight. And maybe that's because I'm an adult now and maybe I see the world differently, but they don't hold the same weight as those cartoons did. How the parents of our generation would always kind of tell us cartoons were different or things were different in the 70s and in the 80s, and for them it very well was, but
they always say that though, right? Every generation says that. I say that now about some of the stuff I watch, Dexter's Lab, Ed, Edd n Eddy, Hey Arnold, Raw Monsters,
even Disney.
Yes.
And that's still, I love I love a lot of those early '90s, late '80s cartoons. I was obsessed with Voltron. Like I love all that stuff. But the stuff that
Mhm.
really stuck with me would be, I guess, I don't know how old you are, Kaz. I don't know if. How old are you?
Um, well, I'm old enough to procreate, but I probably should. I'm 31.
Okay,
Yeah,
yeah. So we're all like
I'm
the same.
21 years young.
We're all about the same age, and a lot of the Cartoon Network especially was big for me. Cow Chicken,
Toonami.
Tanami was great. Yeah, I mean Tanami's where I first learned about anime outside of like Pokemon. So
You know
yeah,
what? I got a story for that. I had my mom record an episode of Yu Yu Hakusho for
my
me before
favorite
like
anime
DVR
of all time to this day.
before DVR was
Obsessed.
like a big before DVR was like a big thing. I had my mom set the VCR to record because Yu Yu Hakusho used to come on I think it was Adult Swim, and this was like in 97,
Mhm.
98, 99. There, I don't remember exactly when.
Sure.
I was very and I really wanted to watch it because I really liked the trailer that I saw. And so I was like, "Hey, mom, can you record this for me so I can watch it later? Because I got bedtime at 8." She's like, "You know what? I can do that for you, but you have to go to bed." And she did it. She recorded the episode for me. And that following morning, it was a Sunday morning, and she popped it in for me to watch. And as she's getting ready, I think we were getting ready for church or something. I don't remember what. He says the line, and this person's got me by the balls, and she's like, "What you watching?" And I'm like, what you recorded? This is your fault." I was like, "This is all you." And so that was my first like real exposure to Yu Yu Hakusho, and my mom would never let me watch it again. But I ended up getting the mangas from Shonen Jump and stuff, so there's that.
Yeah, Yu Yu Hakusho, because of Tanami, to this day, and nothing compares for me. Yu Yu Hakusho and Rurouni Kenshin are my two favorite anime of all time. It's never changed ever. I love those two because of Tanami. It was
My
cool to
cat
have
is
that
begging for.
exposure to something different. Ah.
Yeah, he's a bit chunky.
Mhm.
So this is Rex. Um, he's due for attention. So yeah, this is my son. Are you gonna stay or are you gonna leave? What are you gonna do? Okay, I think he's gonna stay.
Oh, do we have any comments to hit or anything? I know we've got to get to our
Yeah, the
community
convention
questions.
talk.
Oh yeah, and convention
People
stuff.
people are talking about the cat now, and then we have people talking about oh, yep. Yes, Kitty, that's what Lord's saying, and Carl saying Rex is adorable. People like the cat. And then on a sad note, a lot of people are talking about the passing of Jerry Springer.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
a lot of
Yeah,
Yeah.
people are in the comments on that. Um
Yeah. I mean,
so that was
it's,
definitely shocking, to see that this past.
yeah. I think it was
he
only
had
71 too, right? He wasn't.
79.
Oh,
He
70.
lost his fight with cancer, unfortunately.
Yeah, I saw that. He wasn't even telling anybody. I saw
Yeah.
that. Oh, got what was Maury, because he came from the
Mhm.
Jerry Springer show. Said that he met with Jerry just a couple months ago, and he never mentioned having cancer. So like he
Wow.
wasn't even aware. So he kept that private, which is respectable. I understand that.
Mhm.
Yeah, that is
I
very
don't.
sad though.
I think as a community man, Jerry probably would have wanted people to see him in a stronger light. A
Yeah,
lot of people kind of give condolences when it's the end. Oh,
yeah,
Rex, come on. When it's like the end and stuff. And I feel like in many ways, if I ever get severely sick, I don't want to tell people either. I don't want it to be a shock, but at the same time, I would rather you treat me the same as you're treating me now than to
Sure.
treat me differently because you know I won't be here. You know,
right.
because it means more when that knowledge isn't there. It
Yeah,
means
when it's
more.
like more genuine and not like
Sure.
people are
Yeah.
only doing this because they know. Like you want people to be real.
Somebody said
Right.
Jerry was a gamer too, which I actually didn't know
Was he?
that. That's
That's what someone
apparently,
said, so
yeah.
we'll have to check that,
Yeah, we'll have to
out.
look into that. But Yeah,
And then
again, that
before we
was
hit the convention stuff, I just wanted to finish a couple more news things, and then I'll go ahead and ask some of the questions
yeah, for
related
sure.
to the convention stuff. So we also have Gameloft's combat racing adventure Disney Speedstorm released on April 18th across all platforms, including PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, Xbox One, Xbox Series X and S, Nintendo Switch, and PC, getting good reviews and compared to Mario Kart. I have not played it, but I have heard decent reviews about it. So I am kind of curious to see. I always love those like kart racers, anything that's kind of like that like battle style. So that like combat racing. So I think that would be pretty cool. From what I've seen so far, the screenshots and stuff, it looks.
Yeah, Mario Kart with Disney characters. I mean, I'm a big Disney guy, so I want to
Yeah.
grab it. I think I'm going to wait until I find a deal or a sale on it. Because I've got kart racers I still haven't even gotten to. But yeah, it looks like a cool like combination of like Sonic Racing Transformed / Mario Kart
Yeah,
slash.
like a mix.
Yeah, it looks cool. I mean, I think it's cool.
And then another like like combat style, we have Peacock has released a first look teaser of the Twisted Metal TV series
I
and
can't
Yeah.
revealed
wait.
that all
About
10
that.
episodes will premiere on July 27th of this year. The comedy series based on PlayStation's classic franchise stars Anthony Mackie of Marvel's Avengers and Falcon and the Winter Soldier fame, with the teaser offering a first look at his fun-loving character, and then of course they threw in another character right at the end. So I'm kind of curious to see where this is going to go. So far, I like what I see. I just obviously I need more. Like it's just hard, you're just going through. They didn't pick like a certain couple songs that I would have expected. I would have expected like more of like a rock style,
Yeah,
like
you know what?
Rob
Something
Zombie or something. Like I would have expected something
Yes.
more intense.
Give me
And then they
Dracula in
didn't.
there. It would have fit perfectly.
Yeah,
Oh my
yeah.
god, yeah.
That's what I
Dracula would
thought
be
they were gonna
epic.
choose.
Yeah, so the only thing that concerns me about this is calling it a comedy series. Because I want a serious Twisted
A
Metal
serious
series.
something, or just maybe like a little bit a comedy or something. Not like
Maybe a
all.
little mix in there, but something serious with Twisted Metal and Sweet Tooth and all those
Yeah, Sweet Tooth.
characters. Oh, God.
They
I
did.
really
They did show a
Yes.
little glimpse,
A
so
little
I'm
snippet.
excited.
I
Yeah.
really hope that they don't try to treat it like Death Race. You know what I mean?
Which is
Uh-huh.
seeming like what they're doing, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Seems
that's
like
my
that's.
biggest concern. You
I
know?
mean, I mean, ICP was in Death Race for God's sake.
No, they did Death Racers.
Okay. Oh, was it Death
They
Race?
did.
I don't
Yeah,
remember.
so they did
The
Death
Misfits
Racers, which
and
was
ICP were in a bar together. I remember that.
yeah. So they did Money Juggler Hustlers or something like that, which was a Western comedy that they did, and then
Oh
they
Lord.
did Death Racers, which
Whoop
was
whoop.
actually a parody of Death Race by the Global Asylum, the creators of Sharknado and Transmorphers.
Gotcha.
Okay. Yeah, and then we have Thinking Inside the Box saying, talking about the Disney Kart Racer, it's intended to be a live service game, so I'm pretty sure it's
Oh
already
no, I
out
didn't know that.
on it.
Is it
Yeah, I
free?
didn't know.
It's free? Live
Huh.
services, I mean, not always, but if that's the case, I did not know that, and I'm very disappointed.
Yeah, I'll have to look that up more now. And then Thinking Inside the Box said, Twisted Metal needs to be ominous and serious.
I agree.
Carl Peterson said, really looking forward to the Twisted Metal. Love the post-apocalyptic setting for it. Yeah, I love that too. So
Yeah.
we'll have to,
Ma-
keep you guys informed
Mad
on that.
Max
And
sort of vibe to it a little
yep,
bit.
that's
Yeah.
what just popped in my head.
Yeah.
And then Super Mario movie exceeds 1.02 billion in the box office. So we knew it was just going to keep going up. So
Those are insane numbers, though. That's, yeah. I mean,
They are.
we knew it was, but this is undoubtedly, until the foreseeable future, the biggest video game movie of all time.
Can I chime in on the Mario movie?
yeah.
Sorry, my cat scratched my elbow here. So we obviously Sonic and Mario are like two warring brands, right?
Yeah.
I really feel like after the success of the Sonic movies, Nintendo did not miss an opportunity to jump. And I know Nintendo owns Sega at this point, but I realize they didn't miss an opportunity to capture the whole Mario experience. But I also feel like it was kind of like a desperate move. You know, like they announced it, said nothing, then threw out a trailer, and then just put it out. You know, or maybe I wasn't following it
For the
enough.
Mario
But I just,
movie?
Yeah,
yeah.
like 4
Oh,
trailers.
we got 4 trailers, and they made like entire directs for just the trailer.
Then
So
maybe I wasn't following it
yeah,
enough.
it was put out massively. It was pretty
And
But
big with this.
Mario movie came out way a long time ago. It wasn't done well, the first one, but we do have to give
1989.
credit. They did
oh,
start.
I think they captured Bowser perfectly.
Yeah, well,
That's like saying Dragon
That's
Ball
a
Evolution was the
that's a
best
hot
adaptation
take,
of.
man. Yeah, I
You
don't
know,
know.
when I
Still
think of Dragon
nostalgic for
Ball,
that
I
movie,
can't think
but
of anything other than Justin Chatwin to play Goku. Just saying.
yeah, that you know what? Have you ever played the PSP game for the movie Dragon Ball? It's just I think it's called Dragon Ball Evolution for PSP, but it's
I didn't know there was a game.
yeah,
yeah,
there's
I
a
think
fighting
it did
game
for a
for
little
it,
bit
and
too.
it's actually not bad. It's not terrible. It's
Okay,
it's better than the
you want
Street
to
Fighter movie game.
you want to hear a very controversial hot take, and I've said this to plenty of people before,
Sure.
and I know your comment section is going to be mad at me for saying, but can I say it?
Yeah, go for
Sure.
it.
Okay. So, and bear with me. Hear me out, okay? Hear me out. Dragon Ball Evolution is not terrible. Now, hold on. Before you get mad at me, the reason why I say it's not terrible, remove every single aspect that it has to do supposedly in common with the actual anime, manga franchise, etc. Treat it as its own separate entity. Don't even tie it in to what it was supposed to be based on. You have some decent special effects, a thumping soundtrack, you have some really well choreographed fight sequences, and then you also have some really interesting pacing for how they did everything. Now, am I saying it's perfect? Am I saying that it's complimentary? Absolutely not. But I will tell you that when I got my hands on the movie, I knew nothing at all about Dragon Ball. And I'm sorry, had no exposure. I thought it was good. And then when started getting more into Dragon Ball and everything, and meeting people who were like, "Oh my god, it's blasphemy," I realized, okay, this maybe isn't that great. But when I went back to watch it and I removed everything that I had learned, I realized I still enjoyed it. Right? So, what is the comment section saying? Has anybody piped up? Is anyone mad about that? Because I always get guff every time I say this.
I don't think
We've
they all said
got
specifically. People are saying they love the Dragon Ball movie. A horrible take, dude. So I don't know which one they're referencing, but we'll just kind of leave it at that, I guess.
yeah, a couple people saying that it's bad. Thinking Inside the Box, one of our friends, he said, I'm trying to pull it back down. I'm sorry, Evolution is straight trash. I mean, that's understandable. I think the movie's terrible too, but again, like you said, and this can be said about the Avatar movie, if you just try to remove yourself from it being Avatar or Dragon Ball, the movie itself is not bad, but when you're trying to directly
Oh yeah.
adapt it to a established franchise like Dragon Ball, I mean, it's one of the most established franchises in the world. Then
Oh yeah, I
that's
love
where
that
you went
game.
wrong. That's where you went wrong. You know, so I know people that like Dragon Ball Evolution, but a couple people that I know, I was talking with somebody not too long ago because we were talking about the PSP game and the multiplayer with it. I used to play that with my friend who also had a PSP, and we do fighting matches, and the game's not bad. So it's like, you know, everybody's gonna have a differing opinion on that, but
Oh yeah,
yeah,
agreed. Now, and for those who 100% disagree with me, I get it. I support that opinion. I'm not asking you to take my take or anything at all, but as my experience with it wasn't terrible. And I realize that's offensive to a lot of people. I realize that. That doesn't mean that I'm trying to come off that way in any way whatsoever. Now, if I really wanted to go that route, I could say that my favorite part was when Yugi Moto teamed up with Harry Potter in the digital realm to capture all the Pokemon in the digital realm, and then
sure.
also grab all 7 Dragon Balls to take it back to fight the Horcrux, and then also rescue the Power Rangers. Now that's offensive because that's all different universes in one. But I definitely feel like the CGI, the casting. I'll take that back on the casting. The casting wasn't great, okay. But as a fan of James Marsden and a fan of Emmy Rossum, I think that they were decent choices. They just were not perfect choices. And I think that the CGI, the color scale, and the music was good. I own the album. The album's good. The intro music is good. The effort and time that went into it was purely dedicated. But the guy that produced it, I think he was paying for it even 7 years
We're
later,
still talking
and
about
said
Dragon
he
Ball
was
Evolution,
the guy
right?
that produced it. Oh
Okay, all right.
yeah. I
Just
was
make
just
sure.
yeah. The Yugi Moto thing was a joke. It was
Oh,
not to
okay.
be taken seriously anyway. But I think the guy that produced Evolution, I think he at one point apologized. I think because when he went into it, he knew nothing of it, of like the original storyline, and he was just given like some notes or something, and was told to base these characters with these images and make a movie. I could be wrong on that. I'd have to find the original article, but I know for 7 years he paid for it. You know, I don't think anybody deserves that level of hate. But that's just my
No,
opinion.
yeah, no, I agree with you. They shouldn't get hate. They're doing a job and they're going to make money. I mean, it's
So there's a misconception in the film industry that most producers, um, who are making these films, right? Like some of them are young, they're new to whatever, right? They literally get like this pamphlet, like, hey, this is your character, this is who's playing that character, this is the story that you have to follow, and here's your production notes and your storyboard. And these people may be going into these projects not knowing anything of what it's based on, just that they have to produce something that looks genuine, good, and cohesive, right? And so their job ultimately is to make sure that it's flashy, it stands out, everything is implemented correctly, that continuity is attained for, that they ties in with whatever script and screenplay that they have on hand. But there are some producers who get a script, aren't told any of the extra stuff in between, and are just basically there to do a job. And I think that if you're going into film and you're going into movies and you are producing pretty much anything, you really need to do your research, right?
yeah, sure.
Like if I was to sit here, right, Kaz is on Kraz Productions, I'm making a fan film for like Cyber Six or Mummies Alive or something like that, right? And I'm just thinking it's like a superhero movie, and I just go make the worst absolute superhero movie possible based off of what I have, not realizing that there's a fandom behind it. That's my name, my life, or my business, and pretty much my life on the line because I didn't just do a fact check. I think it's important that people acknowledge that you need to check your facts.
Yeah.
But anyway,
Yeah, yeah, I agree. Check your facts.
get that on a
Uh,
T-shirt.
we've gotten
We do
a ton of comments. I'm trying to check here.
yeah,
I'll just quick.
they're going back and forth with I guess some of your comments. They kind of went back and forth, and now they're questioning you based off of
I'm sorry.
So
I'm sorry.
we won't really give them
Yeah,
all the acknowledgement. We'll just keep promoting, all this positive love and nature.
for
Let's not
sure.
hate on anyone.
Yeah, no, I agree. We
Let's all
definitely
be positive.
we had quite a few community questions from our
Yes.
first week of that, so we should probably get to that. Or
Yeah, we'll get to the community questions, and we're coming back around to the convention thing because people are
yeah,
still chiming in on it. So we had Siphon said, "What part of making videos is the hardest, and what is a good starting point?" And that's kind of like all of us, just to briefly touch on.
sure. Yeah,
Like, what would you
Could you
say
ask
would
that
be
question again?
what part of making videos is the hardest, and what is a good starting point? I say topics
Oh,
are probably a good starting point. Hardest
okay.
part.
Do you guys want to give your inputs first? Because I got a lot.
I'm fine with whatever.
Yeah, I would say like a topic or something would probably be a good starting point. Like you have to know what you're talking about.
Uh,
You also have to have some sort of equipment when it comes to it, whether you're on your phone or, something with like a good mic or a good video. I'd say that's a good starting point too. And then
yeah,
sometimes making videos, being in the hardest would be if you feel like you've done quite a bit and you're trying to think of new ideas or things that people haven't done, and even like editing. and different things like that, that could be pretty challenging. I'd say, at least for me.
Yeah, I mean,
So,
yeah, no, go ahead.
no, you first. You first. Like I said, I got a lot. I can answer that in so many different ways.
Yeah, no, just touching a little on what Game Rammer said. I think obviously investing in at least starting equipment. You don't have to have much these days to get started.
Yeah.
It depends on, kind of what you're doing. Like, there's people I know that just stream. There's people that want to make the long form content. The short form content, honestly, what you only really need your phone, which everybody has now. If you're, commenting on here, you've probably got your phone. If you're watching YouTube, you've got a phone.
Hmm.
So, I mean, it depends on what you're trying to do, but investing in, at least starting equipment, which again, you don't need much to get started, is a good starting point. But I think trying to make yourself different and stand out, doing something that, other people aren't doing, or, hot takes is a thing, but, just kind of trying to be unique and stand out, because there's a lot of people doing it, but
And what you're passionate about.
yeah, what you're passionate
You have
about,
to have you have to have that. You can't just do a topic on anything if you have no desire.
Exactly.
Oh,
Yeah.
gotcha.
You
People
gotta
see right through that.
you gotta have some sort of passion in what you're doing, whether
Yeah.
it's gaming, whether it's with toys. If you're wanting to do like little reviews, if you're wanting to, again, if you're wanting to stream, you've definitely got to stand out. That's a tough game to get into. That might be the hardest, I think.
It's
The
definitely hard
streaming.
to kickstart a podcast nowadays.
Yeah, even podcasts. Even just 6 months ago, starting our podcast, it wasn't. There wasn't a lot of competition like our direct community. We've got like a pretty big circle of people that we know, and there are so many now. And just the past few months, I've seen more people start them. You got to stand out. You got to do something different. You got to be yourself, and you got to be enjoyable to watch. Somebody's got to want to care. You've got to have a personality. You've got to be, just be yourself. That's a big thing. Be yourself. Be real, and be different. Talk about
Yeah.
something different. Cover different things. If you've got opinions on stuff, give those opinions. And see where it goes.
My take on the question about getting started, realistically and honestly, Gamer Amory over here, um, had a good point. Mainly having a topic that you can base on. The truth of the matter is, it ultimately depends on the genre that you're going to go with that will ultimately make your project the most difficult, right?
Mhm.
If I was doing like just a romance comedy, you don't need a whole lot of special effects to do a romance comedy. You just need people who are willing to commit to a role,
Yeah.
and not give like C-level acting. You know what? A B movie is basically a bad movie, but there is another tier which is C-level, which is basically can't do it, right? And so you in this industry, I have met some people who will hype up, oh yeah, I can do this and this, and then they get on in front of camera, and it's a very uncomfortable experience saying that this isn't going to work out to people, because you don't want to hurt anyone's feelings, but you also got to get a job done, and if the person can't do the job, then that's difficult.
Sure.
Now, if you're doing something that's independent, right? Like you're paying for it out of your pocket. Most people coming out aren't getting paid. It's all volunteer, which is a lot of ways that people get started is through indie film projects. You have to be willing to put your heart into it,
Mhm.
right? You need
Yeah.
to be able to accommodate. Like maybe this person is driving an hour away. What can you help with? If you can't give them gas money or pay for their time, you supply commission or not commissions, but concessions like food and water, things like that. How long do you think they're going to be there? Sometimes, and this is from my own personal experience, because one of the film projects that I'm producing right now, which is Agent Dax, has been in development hell for a very long time, mostly due to scheduling and recasting and stuff like that, and personal life. And basically, what it comes down to is if you can't find somebody willing to commit to the role and come out, then you got to move on, right? But most of the people that helped us produce the pilot for it, which is for free on YouTube on my channel, nobody got paid for that. we produced that within the original 5 minutes was produced in 2 days, over 16 hours. And then the full 24 minutes was produced over the course of a month. Nobody got paid. We just wanted to put something together, put our names on it, make something cool. And I am so incredibly grateful for everybody who was willing to come out and do this, because now, because of that pilot, we were able to raise enough money to continue on for a second arc, which is 3 new episodes that we're trying to produce, followed by a third arc, which will be the conclusion, 1 episode and a full film.
That's awesome.
And this is all independent, right? Thank you. And I've managed to pay for makeup. I've learned to do some of this stuff on my own. And if you don't have hardware, right, you can get things like this. Like, you can get them for $2. I don't know if price tag is still kind of on there. It's like $2. And what you do with this is you just put your cell phone on this, camera facing out, turn on that built-in stabilizer that's in most phones nowadays, and then you basically have a movie quality gimbal, and it's just your arms, right? And you can follow, you can pan, you can put it on a tripod, stuff like that. You know, for me personally, I use budget cameras. The standard in film typically are Reds, which are really expensive, like high quality 4K cameras, up to 8K. They're expensive. Like, a lens is $2,000. The cameras alone are like $6,000 on their own.
I know someone that just got the latest model of that. Yeah, they're.
Oh god, yes. But the Agent Dax entirely was produced on 2 things: a Canon Rebel 7 and a cell phone. That's it.
Yeah.
And then you have something that's called ADR, and what that is basically you film in a location that has like loud cars or construction equipment, and it's hard to tell what the person's saying. So you dedicate a couple hours behind like a microphone, and you try to match up the lines with that, and then you overlay the audio, and then you add music in between and sound effects, so that way it basically sounds natural. We've done that for Power Rangers. We're almost done with the first installment of that fan film project. It's the VFX that becomes the hardest part, especially when you don't know it. Because once you start talking about VFX, now you're talking about money, because VFX is not free. Unless you learn it yourself, it is not free.
And it's not particularly easy to learn either. You know, it's not just like jump in and go sort of thing.
Exactly. And one of the easiest things that you can learn is eye tracking, which is literally frame for frame. And you have programs like Adobe Premiere that can help with that. They have like built-in AI and stuff like that. A lot of people get
DaVinci Resolve, which is, you know, if you get the free program, also offers that. But, you know, you can't expand with their pro version. So
I would have to say Filmora is one that you should avoid. And this is just a personal bias. I don't expect anybody to agree. But I think that any software that tries to lock you into a subscription every month instead of giving you the full program, I think half the time is not worth the time. Now, Adobe is a different breed. Nuke is a different breed.
Yeah.
But for video editing software, I use products by NCH Software. And basically they have a video pad and wave pad. And these are things that I use to produce my films. And they include all kinds of like transitions, and you can use green screen and all kinds of cool stuff like that. It's actually great. It's a one-time payment of like $100. You get it on Windows. And it's awesome. But a lot of people get very discouraged when they put out their first project and then it gets like a really negative reception. But the thing is none of us have ever started this and not had a bad take, right? I've been a part of some projects that I will never share with anybody. I refuse, because it's literally that bad. But you grow from it, you learn, and you throw yourself further into it until you eventually become good at it, like anything else.
Yeah.
And you'd be amazed at how minimal of an effort it really takes to get a really crisp shot. You get your hands on a Canon Rebel 6, a budget kit is like $200, comes with a tripod, 2 lenses, and some filters. You already have movie equipment gear right there ready to go. Yeah, and I'm talking like you can get f-stop down to the lowest scale and everything will look beautiful. Like you're like like what's behind me blurred, nice and clear, movie quality, full HD, looks beautiful.
Yeah, I mean you can start as low as and not to say phones are cheap because I just spent $1,800 on the newest iPhone with 1 TB. However, you can start. I mean, if you're working on something with a phone and work your way up, I know someone that has a $12,000 rig that was just talking about getting their setup there, and you can go as low as getting a $400 phone and start and learn and teach yourself to do stuff and kind of move forward from there. Like you got to start somewhere, right? So
Oh yeah.
that's what it starts with. You got to put something out there. You've got to be passionate. You got to care. You got to love what you're doing because if you're looking to grow it can be a struggle. I mean, it's not always easy, even just like
There's oh sorry, I
no
didn't mean to
no
cut
no
you
go
off. Go
ahead.
ahead.
No, you're good.
You sure?
Yeah, absolutely.
Um if you really wanted to start a project, like let's say like today, right now,
Mhm.
you're probably gonna want to consider a few things. What's the story? What's the narrative? What's the genre, right?
Sure.
One thing is it's kind of like what Brandon said, where you got to make it kind of like your own, right? So how are you going to make the acting stand out? Are you going to be the one who's acting? Are you going to have someone else do the acting for you? Okay. Expect that there's going to be a delay when you first start out because scheduling is always the thing that kills projects. Be patient with it. It'll line up. It really will. Um, if you're dedicated enough to it, you'll find a way to wrap your story around what happens in life.
Yeah.
So, to give you just a brief example, um, we had we had originally planned to do a scene for episode 3 of Dax, which again is not out. Um, and we had to scrap it all together because of scheduling conflicts. And so much time had passed that our hair was different. You know, somebody developed a scar, things like that. So we had to build the story around those types of things that ultimately weren't there in the stuff that we had previously filmed, right? But you can't just automatically slap it in there and not explain it because then it creates a continuity issue or a problem, right? So one thing that you could do if you don't have the access to creating a continuity, you know, flaw-free project is you can call attention to what that flaw is. You can make your project self-aware. So like the example I was giving you, right? So transitioning into episode 4, the whole premise of this is that we're supposed to go find this guy at this cabin in the woods, and we get to the cabin and we realize the grass is cut, right? Well, we go into the building. This whole scene was scrapped, so I can talk about it. And so we go
Sure.
into this building, we find a person who's holding us at gunpoint, and we realize it's not the person we were looking for, but he was also looking for the same person we were looking for, right? And so we finally make a connection. We realize we're on the same side. And I was like, I just have one question for you. How do you cut the grass? And so he's like, he points to the window, and then we just see a zombie pushing a push mower. Not one with an engine or anything, but like one of those old school 70s push mowers with like the blades on it.
Yeah.
Right. The location was an Airbnb. It's the apocalypse. We can't just explain why the grass is cut.
Right.
So, boom. Just zombie chained to a push mower pushing it around as a joke. And we ended up scrapping it because we're like, it's a little too corny and, we scrapped it. But you can do those kind of creative ideas that turns a relatively serious project into something that's funny, or at least gives people a break from the narrative for a minute, There's so much you can do if you're willing to put your time and effort into it.
Yeah. No, I don't disagree at all. Yeah. So, like some of the stuff that you do, Agent Dax, it's different than what we do, obviously. But I love hearing kind of the input, from a couple different crowds because we've all done something a little bit different. And I am in 2 short films that are on YouTube that will never link to anybody ever. That I'm
Can I
embarrassed
get
of.
that?
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not.
I'll share one if you share one.
They're from a little while ago. Things that I've projects I've been involved with. But you got to start somewhere, man. You really do. Like something that I would love to do in the future that I've always kind of had in the back of my head. I would love to do voice acting because I've kind of dabbled with some stuff for some different.
Actually, voice acting is one of the easiest things to get into because everything needs a voice, right?
Yeah,
You
sure.
can do narrations, you can do anime characters, comic book characters, video game characters. Everything needs a voice,
There's a lot
and
of opportunity.
you exactly, and you can change your voice. Like, I mean, if you want to change your voice to like a speaking spell, you could do that. Or if you wanted to like turn your voice a little bit feminine or flamboyant, like yeah, you could do that, right?
Yeah.
Or, or if you wanted to try to do, let me see if I can still do it. I haven't done this in years. Hold on. You guys know Malbolgia from Spawn?
Malbolgia?
Yeah, Malbolgia was the main demon in Spawn that basically, if you
The
ever
clown?
watched the live
Oh, okay.
no, in the live action movie, so his voice is kind of like, yeah, no, hold on, I can do it, I haven't done it in years, hold on. Hold on, trying to fill it.
My name is Malbolgia, and you will burn in hell for centuries. Ah.
That's
Haven't
pretty
done it in
good.
years.
That's pretty good.
Oh my god. But you got to be able to feel where it's coming from, and you can do so many things with voices. I know a friend who can do like 34 different voices, and he's great at it. I haven't done that in so long. I feel it now. Sorry. Anyway, but yeah, voice acting is so easy to get into. It's just a matter of finding the studio that likes your voice. So never be afraid that when you do auditions that you give a variety as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
for
think
sure.
that would be fun too. No one will probably ever hear them, but I can do probably several like double digits of different voices
All
that I
right,
do on a daily
let's hear a
basis.
few. Let's hear a few
Nope.
now. We got to.
Not here.
You brought it
Come
up.
on.
You brought
They
it
are
up.
they are very random and they're all a little crazy. But
I gotta hear it. We gotta hear one.
Nope.
We gotta hear one voice.
one
Peer
day,
pressure.
Because listen,
One
let me
day.
just say this. There are a lot of people that love Game Raymer's natural voice, and it's
Yeah, they put so gross with the little blah face. So
well, we get the people that love it and the people that are like rude as hell.
Yeah. But if they heard me on like a normal day of like my like many off the tangents thing, I think that people would be shocked. But we'll eventually do that one day, not today, because they come to me and I don't like I can't just do certain things
Oh,
on
you get
command.
voices inside your head that come to you?
Oh, I don't
Oh my
hear
god, me
voices.
too.
But there's
Yeah.
like certain moments. There's like jokes and certain things, and then like certain like it's too complicated to just throw one out because there's so many. Like I get inspired by like different songs, different, daily actions, different things like that. So
We get a
I'm
lot
gonna be
of
honest.
people in here saying you gotta, you have to
I'm a little
now
scared now.
love
Like
her
I got a million
accent.
voices in here.
no. Don't hear any voices. It's just when you hear a song or
Okay.
something and someone does something,
All right,
it's different.
Game
We'll have
Raymer.
to
We got Lord W saying, "Yes, Brandy, you have to now love her accent."
No, we have so many other topics and so many other questions.
All
So
right,
we'll
yeah, we
move
should
on
probably
to
get
the
to our
next
other
one.
community questions, and we are not
Yeah.
ignoring chat. And we exceeded 200 comments, which is pretty great for a
This thing
podcast
booming.
episode. So we definitely appreciate that.
Maybe at one of the conventions, you guys will hear me with my many tangents because I'm a much different person in real life than videos. So yeah, but
Okay, all right, you heard it here
but
first. You heard it here first.
you did. You heard
She's
it
going
here
to do
first.
voices at conventions, so you get a
I'm
different
sure you will
voice
hear
for every
something.
convention. So if you find
No.
us, you mention episode 37 of the podcast, and Game Raymer said you get a voice at a convention.
I'm sure people just kind of yeah. Exactly. Brandy saved. That's me. Okay.
I love it. I
So
love it. You guys are awesome.
we've heard this in the community questions and even in the chat. right here. Someone actually asked about this, so I'm kind of curious myself. What is the inspiration behind starting a podcast? So, and then how did
Boredom.
this all happen? So I'm kind of curious too.
Yeah, so it was kind of just something that I had thought about for a while. It really spawned from me having been involved with other podcasts. So we'll go and shout out Radio Free Cybertron, which is a Transformers podcast I was involved with for a few years. It was just something I loved and enjoyed, and it's a little bit of a different um, how do you explain it? It's different than recording a video or even streaming. It's more of like an open form of discussion, and I always had the thought of wanting to bring on other people, hear their thoughts on things, kind of just talk about what they like, like converse and meet people. It's a great way to network and make friends. I mean, with Gamer Aimer, we're literally best friends now, and I got to talk with her on the podcast, got to know her, and it was it was a really great experience. So it was always that sort of open platform, live dialogue, off the cuff sort of, just being yourself and being real and getting to interact with an audience. It was always something that I admired with other people that did the same thing. So it was really just something I kind of always wanted to do, with a different
I
platform. And
actually, I actually have a question for both of you guys.
Sure.
So like this is so obviously first time being on your podcast, and I'm genuinely curious. Like, so everybody has an origin story for like why they do the things they do and how they end up where they end up. And I'm curious. So obviously you guys have a large collection of stuff in the background, and how did you guys get into video game collecting and stuff? Like, what was your origin story?
Yeah. Do you want to go first, Gamer Aimer?
So my name is Aimer, not my first name, but I was born Gamer Aimer. So no, I'm kidding. But I have always played video games. I didn't have a whole lot of money growing up, so I had
Relatable.
a lot of hand-me-downs, had to go like thrifting and flea markets, and I got a lot of things passed on to me. So essentially, I guess growing up, it was always tough to get like the current systems, and then if I did get them, it would be like a year later around certain holidays, or like my brother or my cousins or someone else would get them, and then I would eventually like get a chance to play them, or we would share. So when like I guess over the years in like high school, I ended up selling a lot of stuff, pretty much
Oh, okay.
everything, so that I could fund college for like a higher education. And then
Right.
after I, like went through college and everything, I had a lot of student loans, so I sold even more. And then that way I could pay everything off. And then, when you get into certain careers and different jobs like that, you start to get more income. And then next thing you know, it's like, I want to relive my childhood. I want to go
Oh
through
God,
all the
yeah.
stuff that, I wish I had. And then next thing you know, I start posting like my pickups and things, and then someone reaches out to me and says, "Hey, I do a YouTube channel for Magic the Gathering cards. I see that you're local to me. Would you want to meet up for like lunch and we could talk like a business?" And I said, "Sure, strange person. I will meet you in a public place. And we can talk about this."
Just
So
know that I'm
after
armed.
yeah, so after, going back and forth, pretty much they had agreed to come over and film a game room tour and a couple other videos. And next thing you know, they just kind of ghosted me a little bit because they said that it was a little bit difficult to manage two different channels. And that was like after a long time of only posting the first two videos.
Mhm.
And then they said, "Good luck to you. I wish you well. I'm here if you have any questions, and go ahead." And I had no idea what I was doing. So then next thing you know,
Took
I
off.
just had to figure it all out myself with a phone, and then eventually like a camera and
Gotta
all
start
about that.
somewhere with
So
that. But
Yeah. So that was pretty much it. And then I guess a lot of people want to hear about yours as well, Brandon. So we'll
as far as like origin, I mean, I guess I didn't really ever not collect because I kind of, my dad collected NES, like, I, I guess, quote unquote collected. He had a lot of NES games, and I think it kind of started there. I feel like as far as the collecting really started with like the Nintendo DS. I had like 127 games, and I was like, I got that at launch, so I never sold any of those. And once I did, um, it was kind of like I got into girls and got into music and focused on that. But then I got back into the collecting or gaming as a whole. And 2014 was the year I started with Nintendo Enthusiast, and that's kind of where I got back into gaming, collecting, and doing all that stuff. So I feel like I never not collected. I didn't have a lot of games as a kid. We were always at least a generation behind until the Wii, which is crazy. But we were always like way behind. I got the GameCube 2 years before the Wii came out. Then we got the Wii when it launched, and that was the first like launch system I ever got. Other than the DS, they came out around the same time. Um, and yeah, I mean, I delved kind of headfirst into the DS. Had a ton of DS games. Never sold anything I had until I sold them all off. And then yeah, I just got back into retro gaming in 2014 when I worked with Nintendo Enthusiasts. Started collecting then. I was heavily collecting Wii U, 3DS. Went back and started collecting DS, and then I started going way back and started collecting games I had from my childhood. When I was young. So with NES, and I kind of just started there. I mean, once I dived back in, I went head first, and I was like, I gotta have everything I don't have. And um, as far as collecting, I have gone through phases. So I've like collected everything I don't have. If it's like a Madden '07 and I don't have it, it went on the shelf. At one point in time, I had 3 shelves as just like PS2 sports games. Then I've like splurged stuff off. I've gone back and like sold the collection, recollected, collected everything again. Then I was like, oh, I only need certain stuff. And I've like gone through phases with collecting over the years. So I feel like I never not collected, but at the same time, I feel like the DS was like the start of me like, oh, I'm going to get all these games. I'm not going to sell anything. I was really big into the DS Online, so I had every DS game that had the Nintendo Wi-Fi collection little stamp on it. Played all those, everything online. Tetris DS, Metroid Prime Hunters, Mario Kart. I mean, literally everything. What was it? Clubhouse Games, I think it was called. Like I got everything that had the online for that. So that was kind of, I guess, my origin for collecting. It changes, it shifts all the time. So
For me, I okay. So my mother bought. I think I must have been 2 years old or something when she got it, because I remember it as far back as I can possibly remember it. My mother had a NES, and she had a lot of horror games, or I want to say horror games, but like kind of like actiony type games. She had Nightmare on Elm Street, Duck Hunt, original Mario,
Friday the
and
13th.
Yep, or wait, Nightmare on Elm Street. I think it was Freddy Krueger for NES,
Yeah,
whichever one that was.
Friday the
Yeah,
13th
so
and Nightmare were on NES.
yeah, and she had forget what the other one was. It was some kind of horror platformer. But anyway, she had an NES, and I was really too young to remember much of it. But I specifically remember the light gun because I used to love shooting the duck.
Yeah.
And I was like 4 or 5, and it's like 3, 4, or 5 years old. She'd gotten it well after it, like its life cycle. And I was 6 years old. She finally bought a Super Nintendo, and I was just young enough to remember it. And my first video game was Mortal Kombat and Power Rangers. Those were my first 2 video games that were mine. And so I spent pretty much most of my life as a Nintendo kid. I would later inherit in Nintendo 64 from an adopted brother who had left it behind. And I had the same games up until like I played literally the same games constantly over and over again.
Yeah.
Up until about the age of 13, even after we had moved and stuff. Adventure Island 2, both of the Power Ranger games. The only one I didn't have for Super Nintendo was Power Ranger Zeo Racers. Um, and then there was Metroid, Super Metroid. Um, then there was all of the Mario games. We also had the 4-pack. Then there was Populous, SimCity, um, Spawn. There's a racing game. I can't remember the name of it that we had. Star Fox, and a few others. I held on to those forever. And then out of the Nintendo 64 cartridges that we had, which was 007, Mario 64, Wave Race, which to this day, Wave Race is still one of my favorites.
It's so good. So good.
Still one of my favorites.
On 64 and the GameCube game, the 64 with the water effects at the time, mind blown.
Oh yes,
as a kid.
It was visionary. If you play on hard mode, I can't remember the name of the beach, but it's the last level where basically like as you get into like the second lap, the water slowly recedes and you can no longer hit the ramps on top of the platforms because the water's too low. Mm-hmm. But if you're in the first lap and if you hit the ramp just right, you can actually dive under the water and go up underneath the dock and like get ahead of everybody that's in front of you. And I discovered that at a very young age, and I used to use it to cheat on my sister all the time. It was crazy. But weirdly enough, what started my video game collecting. So when I was 11 years old, we ended up losing the house that we were at, and we went to a trailer park. And a lot of the trailers were very run down, and one of those trailers became abandoned. And so I was very young. I ended up exploring the trailer because the door had been broken in and you could just walk right in. And there was so much stuff. This person was a hoarder, had left this stuff behind, and I ended up finding, ironically enough, cartridges for Nintendo 64. I had found Mischief Makers, Killer Instinct Gold, Mortal Kombat 4, and Jet Force Gemini. Those were sitting in a drawer.
Wow.
Like a sock drawer, like it was still clean. I mean, I cleaned the cartridges, of course, but that was my exposure to getting new games for my Nintendo 64 years after it had been discontinued. And I realized I want more experiences because I've never had like new games. We were such a poor family growing up, and so I got my hands on more cartridges. I started going to like Second and Charles and Edward McKay's and stuff like that, and started getting my hands on more things. Game Boy Advance SP. My mom bought me actually for I think it was my 16th or 17th birthday, and then we got the Pokemon cartridges, and so most of my video game life had been Nintendo, and then finally get my hands on a Sega Genesis, and I played Battle Frenzy, Corporation, Zero Tolerance. Didn't really play a whole lot of like the platformers, but I had my hands on Booger Man, Sonic. Oh god, sorry, I'm having like a nostalgia flashback here. Got my hands on so many really cool games and started delving more into it. And so then that of course led me into emulation. And my first experience with Dreamcast was actually emulation. I played Jet Set Radio. And so I decided I wanted to go get one. And so I had a buddy take me like 3 hours away to pick up a sports edition. I still have that, by the way. Mm-hmm. And so started collecting from there, and then it went from that to Atari products, and multiple different handhelds and emulating handhelds and Tiger Electronics and Ouya's and all this stuff. So I've technically been collecting for 13 years. I was about 17 or 18 when I technically started. And I'm kind of here now. I've actually sold a lot of what I used to have because, money's tight. I'm a college student, and that's not cheap. And life isn't cheap when you're a college student. So for me, video game collecting or just collecting in general has been so much of a journey. And I'm lucky to have the experiences that I have today and the exposure that I have today because I've met a lot of amazing communities through it.
Yeah, I mean,
Yep.
that's some of the best part is like, networking, finding a community, finding your niche, finding your people, really,
Mhm.
So, definitely agree with
What
that.
else is on the agenda?
Yeah, what else do we have left for community questions?
Some of them we can kind of like dive into a little bit, kind of like behind the scenes, I would say.
Oh, yeah,
Just
yeah.
because some of them are like a little bit more specific,
More in depth
interest
and
type of
stuff.
thing. And I feel like we hit a lot of these, like
Sure.
outside of gaming, what other nerd type stuff. We already talked about Power Rangers movies, toys. We already talked about some of that.
Yeah.
And then, another one that we had talked about earlier that we could potentially do like a video on.
Was
And then people
females
are
and
still
gaming.
asking in the chat about the podcast.
Okay.
So I guess they're asking, how did it come together with both of us? Well, obviously it started with you, and you're planning on like bringing people together, getting different opinions, different things like
Yeah.
that. And then I had, I was on a podcast episode.
You're on our only pre-recorded podcast episode too.
Yeah, it was a pre-recorded one, and then we had talked a lot off the podcast.
Yeah, off the podcast.
So
yeah.
it wasn't like specifically.
It was very organic with us too, because we
like
got
it
to talk and
it didn't
chat.
feel like forced, and we just seemed like we could just be like good buddies, like
yeah.
just like a good, like,
we seemed like we meshed
good
very
friends.
well. Yeah.
And like it just seemed like we could both kind of like go into this and just see how things would go and all of that. And obviously I'm still here, and we do the shorts and we do pre-planned videos and things like that. So people were asking like what I essentially bring to it. I guess because they started on episode 12 and I guess I wasn't there. So pretty much I also have a YouTube channel that I do independently. And I've had it for many, many years. And I have a little bit of a following, not majorly huge or anything, but I'm about to hit 10,000 subscribers.
You're doing better than me.
Significant. Yeah, it's very significant.
Yeah, and some of my videos, like when
860 people.
That's still a lot of people, man.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
no. Anything's a good amount.
It's not 10,000.
I saw a statistic that said that less than 8% of people even get over 100 subscribers on YouTube.
Yeah.
So
really?
Keep that in mind. Yes.
All doing pretty well.
Yeah, everybody's doing well.
Yeah, and then I had my buddy Retro Wolf 88. He popped by and filmed my game room, and he and his family, did an amazing job, editing it, and it has like over 160,000 views, or it's probably pushing close to 200,000 now. So I mean, it is what it is. And then some people are also saying, I don't play all of my games. Well, maybe one day I'll be able to play some
Hey,
more
listen,
of my games.
I can't play 95% of what I have, so that's that's just the truth there.
The life of a collector,
I mean, even just the life of an adult gamer. You don't even have to be a collector. Do you really get to?
I may play a good chunk of them, but only like a few minutes. Like some you don't have to invest a whole bunch into. Some
that's such a hard thing to accept, though, because like this stuff stares you right in the face, right?
It does.
And you're like, oh my god, I'm gonna dedicate some time to play this game, and I get home and I'm like, I want to go to bed. Oh no. And then you realize you missed out on the only free time you had. I'm pretty sure I'll get a chance to play them all when I'm in my retiring age, but until
that's
then,
what we all hope, right? That's our thought. Once we retire, we have the time. Like, we're going to play these games. I will get around to Atari 2600 game I didn't get to play 30 years ago. I promise.
Yeah, and then obviously people are also questioning. They said, are we like friends for real, or are we just friends or business partners? I mean, I'd say that we're like, friends throughout this. A lot of it is, like business when it comes together, but at the same time, like it doesn't feel forced. Like I wouldn't be here if we weren't like, pretty decent buddies, just chatting about games. It's. So I know people had questions about that.
But that's the beauty of it. When something like that happens naturally, like it's going to be something that's long lasting. And I think that's more appreciable than like the individuals that you mentioned that came to you as like a business proposition, right? Like for them it was just business, but you guys, you have something that can last for however long you guys want it
Yeah,
to
I would
because you
call
guys.
her one of my best friends. Yeah, for sure. We talk
Yeah,
we
because
talk all the
like
time, all the time.
yeah, like it
So
may have started as, hey, do you want to be a part of this, like a business type thing, but then as you spend time talking to someone more and more, it's like, hey, how's your day going? Hey, what's new in your life?
I
How's your family?
yeah,
How's
I
your
feel
this?
like when you talk
How's your job?
beyond, in which we do extensively.
Yeah.
Yeah, that for sure. One of my best friends. Yeah,
And then plus
you
we
can make
like
great friends as this community. You really can.
yeah, and plus we like go off tangent all the time. Like we're never just we set to like film something and then next thing you know we're talking about like
We're
the weather and like other things and conventions and
yeah, which we're trying to work out a day to just kind of talk and hang out and also get stuff done. But yeah, that's a great part of this community is that you can make really good friends. I've made some of the best friends in this community. I mean,
Oh
there's no
yeah.
doubt about that. Brandy has become one
I
of my best friends. I mean, just you make really good friends in this community. You really can. I mean, you got to be yourself. You got to be yourself. Got to be real. Yeah.
yeah. So I mean
Oh God,
that's what this whole community is. Yep,
Lord W says any romance. Y'all are great together.
we're
You
getting
you
those
guys
vibes
gotta
too.
stop it. Y'all gotta stop it. No, no. She's a
Let's
very
just
good friend,
say
and that
yeah,
yeah,
let's just say I feel like we would be more of the terms of like a
brother
brother type
sisters
of
sort of deal.
figure type
Yeah,
of
yeah,
so
yeah, yeah. Yeah.
we'll
We'll
just
move
say
on
that.
from there.
Yep, we're
And,
done with these
and for
questions.
our
We'll move on
special,
from.
we have a nice pate sherry, okay? And for the lovely couple, okay, this is a nice cherry chocolate cocoa cream flavor mixed with a little bit of blended white wine. Would you like some?
This I think in like 15 minutes this will reach our long. I think our longest podcast episode was 3.5 hours long. So we're
Oh wow.
yeah, which is way we normally have like our I think it's been around 90 minutes our average for a
Wow.
while. So
Yeah.
Oh wow, it's 11:08 p.m. for me. Wow.
yeah, us too.
Oh, we're on the same time zone. That's right. I
Yeah,
completely forgot.
Okay, now we'll go ahead and like end it with convention talk.
yeah,
What
yeah.
conventions do you plan on attending?
Me
If any?
personally,
Yeah.
Yes.
okay, so right now I'm trying to get in as a photographer or like as press for Ranger Stop and Pop in Atlanta, Georgia.
Yes, I want to go
Um,
there so bad.
it's a major Ranger related convention here on the east side. Wait, do I have that right? Yeah, east side. I'm so sorry. It's nowhere near like Ranger Stop in like San Diego, California, or whatever like that. But it's one of the largest Ranger conventions. They also have another showing in Orlando, Florida. That's also happening. Um, but I'm also going to try to get in with Raleigh's Galaxy Con or possibly Oak City Comic Con. Um, right now, I do photography for Fable Comic Con here in North Carolina, and the individuals that I work with, I could not be more grateful because they've given me so many, not just experiences, but they've given me opportunities to try to practice skills that I need for my career, as far as trying to communicate and network with people and be able to use cameras and figure out how to like really capture somebody in the moment.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's actually kind of it's actually kind of funny. I want to say this real quick. So Mr. Gibbs, he's my overseer, and I'm proud to call him, basically a friend. The way that I got started working with Fable Comic Con was like the weirdest thing. I had no idea that he was going to do this, but I basically had just started photography, and so I had been going around photographing people for free and just really trying to get like really good angles and really hype people up, and he saw
Sure.
that, and so we had this one major event that was coming up and it's like 5 or 6 days before, not even a full week, I get tagged in a post and it says, "And one of our photographers, Kaz is on." And I'm like, "Oh, we're doing this?" And he's like, "Yeah, if you want to." And I said, "I'm there." And so we've started this whole thing, and I've filmed a couple short videos. through DeVecchio Coleman and Terry Bullard for Cospladia Productions and stuff like that. And I've helped a few people, pretty much kind of get out of their shell and get intermingled with the cosplay community. Because the cool thing about cosplay is that you can kind of like let go of like your troubles of the world for just a day and just have these really cool interactions and pretend to be somebody else for a day. And you can showcase things that you create or things that you love and share your passions with other people in a non-judgment free, like a judgment free zone. Excuse me. And it really is great. I started going to conventions in 2012 ish. I think my first convention was a small local community convention called LibrariCon, which was this major library that decided to have just a regular anime event for a day. And it was like the first of its kind, and I showed up and I fell in love with it, and I got my hands on flyers and stuff, and I just started going. Um, I think ultimately what I take away from these things is not just the memories. It's I'm genuinely meeting people who share the same things that I enjoy, and I'm taking away from that life lessons and experiences that I can apply to the future, or also give off to somebody else in the future who may have been in that same awkward boat that I was, where I got into conventions because I was awkward and I wanted to be around awkward people, and now here I am. I kid you not, and I couldn't talk to a girl at all to save my life. I'm talking like this super awkward, geeky, pimply kid, couldn't do nothing as far as social, standards are concerned, and conventions got me out of that. So yeah, if I go to any other conventions right now, it's definitely going to be Ranger Stop and Pop and GalaxyCon. And also in October, we are having another Fable Comic Con. We're trying to do things where it is bi-yearly, so one in spring, one in winter or fall. So definitely try to stop in and definitely try to show us some love, and come meet your favorite celebrities, and help support some of the local artists and community members who help this convention. Some of the money goes to good causes, and some of it goes to the next convention. I'm not really sure the details on that, but the tickets usually range anywhere between $20 to $25 at the door, depending on what the event is about. But your money is also attributed to other things. It's not just going specifically to a convention.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I know. We've got 7 on the docket, or 8 actually. One has not been actually announced yet.
Yeah, I'm at like 12 or 13 or something at this point. It's a lot.
It might even be 9. I'll have to check. I'm not sure. Yeah, we've got a lot that we're going out to. But coming up, Game Rammer, you might have to tell me beyond these 2 at the moment. But I know next weekend we've got Game Jam South.
You have yours. Yeah.
And then the weekend after, which Game Jam South, only I will be at. Unfortunately, Game Rammer can't make that one. But the weekend after that, we'll both be at CorgsCon, which is in Columbus, Ohio.
In Ohio.
And that's two weekends away. So 2 weekends we'll be there, both of us.
13th or somewhere around that.
Yeah, that's a 1-day con. Game Jam South is 1 or 2 days. I think it's 1 day. It might actually be a 1 day, but that's next weekend, Saturday, for sure. CorgsCon is a Saturday after that. Beyond that, I cannot remember what the next one is. I'll have to check. We've got so many. We've got... Okay, so Game Jam South... Yeah, no worries. Game Jam South, we got May 6th. So that's next weekend. Quarks, we got May 13th, which is the weekend after that. Then we don't have another one until July, which is Final Boss Con. Again, there's another one in between these. I want to say it's the beginning or the end of August, but we've got Southern Fried Gaming Expo the 28th through the 30th, which again, all these other ones will both be at after Final Boss Con. Game On Expo's 11th through the 13th. We'll both be there for that. And Cleveland Gaming Classic, which is the 22nd through the 24th, will also both be there for that. So the only 2 that only I will be at are Game Jam South and Final Boss Con, as of now.
Yeah, because Final Boss Con, I'll be in Southeast Game Exchange in South Carolina.
Yeah.
I also have Too Many Games in Philadelphia, PA. That's next month. And then there's also something called Awesome Con in DC that I got invited out to from a game store in Virginia, Echo Base. They're pretty cool. They brought me out to this past one, Big Lick Comic Con. And then there's a couple like local ones in like kind of Maryland area. They have like a toy show. There's just a couple different ones. But I think the West Coast one that we're going to, because people are asking about the West Coast, I guess the closest one to there is the Game One Expo. That's in Arizona, correct?
Yeah. Yes.
Yes.
Yep, Arizona for that one.
We'll be going out there. There's another one in the works that's kind of like more like north-ish.
Yeah, which we can go ahead and say I was already given, okay. VGS, which is July 8th in Illinois. And then we have one more, which I don't want to say yet. It's in the New York area. Again, that one potentially will be one that only I'll be at.
Yeah.
But we'll announce that stuff later. But yeah, coming up the next few weeks, like I said, we've got 2 back-to-back. The second one, QuirksCon, we'll both be at, which we're looking forward to. And we do have panels at both.
Yeah.
We'll have a table set up at QuirksCon giving away, some free merch items, different things there. We've got buttons, we've got magnets, little things to give away to everybody.
Pins,
stickers,
different things like that.
Yeah.
Some people are also asking, like, if we're going to be doing signings. Kind of how it works at conventions. If you're not insanely big, you don't have to sit down at a table and like do signings. Like if someone comes up to us, type of thing.
We'll absolutely take a picture
happily
with you.
Sign
or any of
games,
that
T-shirts.
stuff.
I've done it in the past. Different things like that. And then if someone wants to take a picture, I'm totally fine with that as well.
Yep.
I don't mind if someone comes up. I definitely appreciate someone kind of like breaking out of their like shyness or whatever to come forward. I know it takes a lot because some people aren't okay with it, but we
are. We're
okay with it.
Yeah, we're fine with that.
I'm fine with the picture. I'm fine with whatever. I don't consider myself to that level, but if anyone
we're not AVGN over here.
Yeah, I'm happy to do all of that no matter what. I also like talking about games. I talk pretty in depth about things and a lot, so don't ever feel bad. So I know the people had those questions earlier in the chat. And we have plenty coming up, so we can't wait to see everyone, and we'll have to probably try and get something like organized throughout our different groups that we're in if people want to meet up and do anything. So yes.
Yeah.
I would like to say real quick, if you guys decide that you want me to come back, I promise, for future reference, I will leave my Dragon Ball comments at the door. Okay, that is a promise. But I would love to do this again at some point if we could.
Definitely.
We've got millennials saying she only charges $5, so pretty reasonable.
I don't charge anything.
No, we don't charge anything, but I definitely do want to thank everybody for coming out to this long podcast. We've had a great viewership till the end here. We even do now, but it's hitting close to 11:30, so we don't want to drag out too long. And again, we appreciate everybody coming out. Thank you, Kraz, for coming on. Definitely appreciate it. And we'll drop your links below in the description for these platforms. And we'll see you guys all again next week. Next week it'll be right after Game Jam South, so I think I'll have a little bit to talk about that. That'll be exciting. Week after, again, we've got Quarks, so we'll have a little bit to talk about there, and we'll see you guys.
I'll try and make it back in time for this.
You better. You better.
Please subscribe. I'm starving.
Yeah, please leave a like, comment, subscribe down below, and we'll see you guys again next week.